All right, so that plea filed yesterday in the Supreme Court by the CPM on the anti-encroachment drive, calling it inhumane, and also talking about how Shaheen Bagh is also going to be targeted by the anti-encroachment drive. So there you can see bulldozers. There's a bus as well of the MCD having arrived there at Shaheen Bagh to carry out this anti-encroachment drive. But the residents there extremely angry and agitated, protesting. Also some Congress workers have arrived there. And as we said, the reason why Shaheen Bagh is so well known is that it was where the anti-CA protests at that time had taken place against the citizenship bill, an act which was later made into a bill, and asking for the government to take it back. It was the site of the longest protest in recent times taking place in India, a peaceful protest where women had sat out on the road. This side of the road, in fact, was completely blocked during that Shaheen Bagh protest. It was only cleared when lockdown was declared, and because of COVID in 2020 is when that protest had to be then called off. But now the MCD, they're targeting Shaheen Bagh and arriving with their bulldozers here, and this comes after the MCD action in Jahangirpuri, where after communal riots had taken place there, MCD bulldozers were brought out, and it was especially controversial because it came after the Delhi BJP chief had said that take action against those in Jahangirpuri who caused the riots, and they must be punished. So again, like we've seen in other states, it was seen to be a kind of retribution or kind of punishment for the communal riots that had taken place. We've seen the same thing happening in Khargon, in Madhya Pradesh, in Gujarat as well, that after there were communal clashes, then suddenly the civic body gets active and bulldozers are brought to bring down these alleged illegal encroachments, though often, as we saw in Jahangirpuri, also there was a shop there that had been there for decades and even had permission from the DDA. That too was brought down in that anti-encroachment drive, which became extremely controversial after the Supreme Court had asked them to stop it and maintain status quo. But even then, for 1.5 hours after that, the MCD continued with its anti-encroachment drive, even bringing down the gate of a mosque. That was after the Supreme Court order when the mosque gate was brought down. So that is something that the Supreme Court is continuing to hear a plea on. But yesterday, the CPM also filing a petition in the Supreme Court against the current anti-encroachment drive by the South Delhi MCD and saying it's been inhumane. We've been covering the anti-encroachment drive, and we've seen actions in other parts as well, and in Sangam, Vihar, in fact, where again there was a stall that was brought down in which the young man said that he had papers, that it was something that had been run by his family for years, and they even had legitimate papers for it. And the only thing the MCD official there said is that you could file a complaint. So we've seen this sort of action being taken, carried out in other parts of South Delhi in recent days. But today in Shaheen Bagh as well, earlier it couldn't be carried out on Friday as police force wasn't available, but today you can see a high presence of police force there and the MCD bulldozers. We'll slip into a short break and return with more.
Brought to you.
सच दिखाते हैं ताकि दुनिया के बाजार में आजादी सस्ती न बिक जाए। कुर्सी पे बैठने वालों को जमीन की अहमियत याद रहे। सच दिखाते हैं हम ताकि पैसे की चमक से कभी हुनर ना पड़े फीका, खुदगर्जी खोखला न बना दे सोचने का तरीका। सच दिखाते हैं हम ताकि अच्छे विचार और आदर्श बस किताबी बातें ना रह जाएं।
चुनौतियां काफी ज्यादा हैं, बड़ी चुनौतियां हैं।
एक बेहतर कल चाहते हैं हम, इसलिए सच दिखाते हैं हम। NDTV इंडिया, जुबान पे सच, दिल में इंडिया।
the show where the country speaks its mind.
This is a first step in the direction of giving women at least a fighting chance.
This is all wishful thinking. Today also you see 23% of our girls are married off before 18.
Your mirror to what India thinks.
Everybody had that second thought, how could you be in fashion because you don't look like a person in fashion? And that for me needed to change.
We the People with me, Sarah Jacob, only on NDTV. If you care about it, we'll talk about it.
Now cryptocurrency.
ऊपर जाएंगे और नीचे जाएंगे Bitcoin, blockchain, Dogecoin, हर चीज एक revolutionary solution.
The noisy buzz of cryptocurrency tiring you much? Take an easy sip of coffee and crypto. Your one-stop destination for simplified explainers, industry experts, newsmakers, and Janta's opinions. This is the coffee shot you need to get high on crypto.
Watch CoinSwitch presents Coffee and Crypto every Friday at 6:30 p.m. only on NDTV 24/7.
This is NDTV. No noise, no shouting, news that informs and inspires.
Facts build stories, but opinions shape them, and we are here to bring you both.
A 360-degree look at the day's top stories. We are not afraid to take a stand.
No agendas, no excuses, no whataboutery, and no obfuscation. Cutting through agendas, obfuscation, whataboutery, excuses. Only one show gets to the heart of the matter and tells it like it really is. The biggest newsmakers with no wriggle room, only on No Spin.
Facts build stories, but views shape them. And we are here to bring you both. But in an increasingly polarized world, it is very easy to get swayed in one direction. Breaking the monopoly of narratives, breaking the concept of one-sided arguments, breaking the selective presentation of facts. Because when you hear all views, that's when you get the complete picture. Breaking views. Get the complete picture.
One thing that's clear, our world is changing forever. NDTV, real news by real journalists.
Now cryptocurrency.
ऊपर जाएंगे और नीचे जाएंगे Bitcoin, blockchain, Dogecoin, हर चीज एक revolutionary solution.
The noisy buzz of cryptocurrency tiring you much? Take an easy sip of coffee and crypto. Your one-stop destination for simplified explainers, industry experts, newsmakers, and Janta's opinions. This is the coffee shot you need to get high on crypto.
Watch CoinSwitch presents Coffee and Crypto every Friday at 6:30 p.m. only on NDTV 24/7.
Good evening. It's 8 o'clock.
For their stand against the Citizenship Amendment Act. What they are saying is that they have been living here. This is a livelihood for them. They have been staying here for years, but there have been no such complaint or no such issue of this anti-encroachment. But this is the time that after years of sleeping, now the South Delhi Municipal Corporation started this particular anti-encroachment act, which they call it as a clear case of vendetta. Even what we are seeing here is that even the local MLA from Aam Aadmi Party, Amanatullah Khan, he is also here against this anti-encroachment drive. So also are the political parties so are the members from other political parties also here protesting against this. But the BJP rule, South Delhi Municipal Corporation is not relenting. They are saying is that they will go as per the plan. They will continue with the anti-encroachment drive, not just here in the time bar, but also across their own jurisdiction. And then they have given the list of places also gatewise where they will be carrying forward this particular anti-encroachment drive. And then they have also sought the police protection or the security forces from the Delhi police also. So it looks so that the anti-encroachment drive will begin shortly now, and this at a time when the Supreme Court is hearing is set to hear the pleas against the anti-encroachment drive shortly.
All right, and we also believe the CPM approached, as you mentioned, the Supreme Court yesterday against this anti-encroachment drive, this demolition drive in a sense, being carried out by the MCD, calling it inhumane, and also questioning the targeting of some particular colonies in Delhi, in South Delhi. And this is especially controversial, as Arvind was saying, because it comes after the Jahangirpuri anti-encroachment drive that we saw earlier, which the Supreme Court then put a stop to, but it was that took place after the BJP Delhi chief had actually called for those who indulged in rioting on Hanuman Jayanti to be punished and taught a lesson. And it's after that that we saw MCD bulldozers in Jahangirpuri, and finally the Supreme Court putting a halt to that, even though that drive carried on for 1.5 hours after the Supreme Court had asked for status quo to be maintained. So that case continues in the Supreme Court. However, after that, it was last week that the MCD announced that they would be carrying out another drive against illegal encroachments in South Delhi, this time with several colonies on that list, including Shaheen Bagh, and which, as Arvind had mentioned, this Shaheen Bagh came to fame when during the anti-CA protest, when we saw a massive protest taking place here. Let's go across to NDTV's Ravish, who is there in Shaheen Bagh. Let's listen into his report.
बुलडोजर आने के बाद में अब जो ये बिल्डिंग बनाई जा रही थी, जो लोहे के खंभे लगे हुए थे, उनको पहले तो जिनकी बिल्डिंग थी उन्होंने खुद हटाने की कोशिश की, और अब जो है वो बुलडोजर के जरिए उसको हटाया जा रहा है। और तमाम सारे आम आदमी पार्टी के, कांग्रेस के यहाँ पर लीडर भी अभी प्रदर्शन किया है, पुलिस ने उनको वहाँ से हटाया है, और खुद यहाँ जो आम आदमी पार्टी के जो विधायक हैं उनसे भी हमारी बात हो रही थी। उनका ये कहना है कि 3 दिन पहले से वो लगातार यहाँ पर घूम रहे हैं, और उनका ये कहना है कि अतिक्रमण खुद दुकानदारों से मिलकर उन्होंने हटवाया है। ये केवल बुलडोज़र पर एक सियासत की जा रही है, इस तरीके का आरोप है कांग्रेस और आम आदमी पार्टी का। जबकि बीजेपी के लोगों का ये कहना है कि चूँकि अतिक्रमण तमाम सारी जगहों पर शिकायत मिल रही है, तो इसके वजह से जो है वो 13 तारीख तक लगातार अलग अलग जगहों पर अतिक्रमण चलाया जाएगा। आप देख सकते हैं कि शाहीन बाग का ये इलाका है, और यहाँ पर अभी सीआरपीएफ जो है, दिल्ली पुलिस के तमाम सारे लोग यहाँ पर लगे हुए हैं, नगर निगम के बहुत सारे लोग हैं यहाँ पर, और उनका ये कहना है कि जब तक अतिक्रमण हटाया नहीं जाएगा, हटेगा नहीं, तब तक वो यहाँ पर बुलडोजर उनका काम करेगा। यही वजह है कि अभी स्थानीय जो नेता हैं, जो विधायक हैं, उनसे बातचीत भी हुई पुलिस की, और उसके बाद में कानून व्यवस्था न खराब हो, इसके वजह से बातचीत करके एक ये समझदारी बनी है कि अब जो है जिन लोगों के, अगर ये जो आप देख रहे हैं कि जो लोहे के ये जो पिलर लगे हुए हैं, खंभे लगे हुए हैं, इनके ज़रिए जो बिल्डिंग बनाई जा रही थी, अब इनको हटाया जा रहा है। खुद अभी ये लोग खोल रहे हैं कि यहाँ से इसको हटाया जा सके, जिसकी ये बिल्डिंग है वो खुद। और बुलडोजर चूँकि आज अतिक्रमण हटाने का अभियान चलाया जाना था, तो इसकी वजह से जो आसपास की दुकानें आप देखिए वो भी तमाम सारी बंद कर दी हैं, खुद ही लोगों ने बंद कर दी हैं। तो स्थानीय जो विधायक हैं उनका ये कहना है कि खुद बाज़ार के RWA से मिलकर और वो अतिक्रमण हटा रहे हैं। उन्होंने कई बार गुजारिश भी की नगर निगम से कि वो उनके साथ में बातचीत करें और आपस में मिलकर अतिक्रमण को हटाया जाए, अगर किसी का है तो। उनका पहली बात तो ये कहना था कि इस वक्त कोई अतिक्रमण नहीं है, लेकिन चूँकि ये जो बिल्डिंग आप देख रहे हैं जहाँ पर अभी बुलडोजर चलने वाला है, ये जो सड़क पर अभी लगा हुआ है, ये जो लोहे की यहाँ पर रॉड आपको दिख रही है, ये जो बिल्डिंग बन रही थी, तो इसको अब शायद यहाँ से हटाया जाएगा। एक जो लोहे का
So as Ravish was telling us there, the drive has begun in Shaheen Bagh, and there you can see one of the shops was actually doing some kind of construction work on the outside of the shop. So the steel bars there being brought down, the scaffolding being brought down. We're told that already the shop owner himself was trying to bring it down earlier, but now being brought down by the MCD as a part of its anti-encroachment drive. This is Shaheen Bagh. The road you're seeing there was blocked for many months in 2019 when there were protests taking place there against the citizenship amendment Act and finally the citizenship law that came into place, demanding that it be rolled back. We also believe that the local leader, the AAP MLA, has also arrived at the spot there. Congress workers are there also who are protesting this action by the MCD and the opposition parties. They're calling it an action there to teach the people here a lesson, is what many of the opposition parties are calling it, especially after what we saw in Jahangirpuri when the anti-encroachment drive took place following the communal clashes there on Hanuman Jayanti, and after the BJP Delhi chief had said that the people there must be punished. So there you can see huge security force, the locals are there, bulldozers are there, and the anti-encroachment drive has begun in Shaheen Bagh. We'll slip into a short break and return with more.
OLX ऑटो से देता है आप.
Legacy is often seen as a burden of expectations. It comes with its own set of challenges. The challenge to take it forward, challenge to reimagine, challenge to be in the present, and also challenge to think about the future.
What accountability are you talking about?
As long as the core values and principles remain uncompromised. Debates are essential not just for journalism but for humanity. It ignites our mind, opens it up for counter-opinion. To hear all views, opinion of all hues. Which is why the oldest running debate show on Indian news television is not 22 years old, but it is young at 22.
इस इनिशिएटिव को मैं अभिनंदन करता हूं कि सच को सच के रूप में पेश करने का उन्होंने साहस दिखाया.
So let us begin the big fight.
They say the zero is nothing unless it connects the dots and the real story emerges. Unless it captures the truth. They say the camera never lies. Unless it is the essence of India, of diversity and tolerance. Unless it reveals the wealth of nations and silences the barrel of a gun. Unless it reflects the sadness in the eye of the tiger as forests disappear. In fact, the dot is the center of your universe and of ours. The dot is the essence of NDTV, the essence of just one word: trust.
सच दिखाते हैं ताकि दुनिया के बाजार में आजादी सस्ती न बिक जाए. कुर्सी पे बैठने वालों को जमीन की अहमियत याद रहे. सच दिखाते हैं हम ताकि पैसे की चमक से कभी हुनर ना पड़े फीका. खुदगर्जी खोखला न बना दे सोचने का तरीका. सच दिखाते हैं हम ताकि अच्छे विचार और आदर्श बस किताबी बातें ना रह जाएं.
चुनौतियां काफी ज्यादा हैं, बड़ी चुनौतियां हैं.
एक बेहतर कल चाहते हैं हम, इसलिए सच दिखाते हैं हम. NDTV इंडिया, जुबान पे सच, दिल में इंडिया.
The show where the country speaks its mind.
This is a first step in the direction of giving women at least a fighting chance.
This is all wishful thinking. Today also you see 23% of our girls are married off before 18.
Your mirror to what India thinks.
Everybody had that second thought, how could you be in fashion because you don't look like a person in fashion? And that for me needed to change.
We the people, with me, Sarah Jacob, only on NDTV. If you care about it, we'll talk about it.
Now cryptocurrency ऊपर जाएंगे और नीचे जाएंगे. Bitcoin, blockchain, Dogecoin, हर चीज एक revolutionary solution.
The noisy buzz of cryptocurrency tiring you much? Take an easy sip of coffee and crypto. Your one-stop destination for simplified explainers, industry experts, newsmakers, and Janta's opinions. This is the coffee shot you need to get high on crypto.
Watch CoinSwitch presents Coffee and Crypto every Friday at 6:30 p.m. only on NDTV 24/7.
This is NDTV. No noise, no shouting. News that informs and inspires.
Facts build stories, but opinions shape them. And we are here to bring you both.
A 360-degree look at the day's top stories. We are not afraid to take a stand.
No agendas, no excuses, no whataboutery, and no obfuscation. Cutting through agendas, obfuscation, whataboutery, excuses. Only one show gets to the heart of the matter and tells it like it.
Welcome back. The big story we're tracking, the anti-encroachment drive in Shaheen Bagh, and locals in the area protesting. Also, the local MLA from the Aam Aadmi Party, Amanatullah Khan, also protesting this MCD action. This is part of the MCD's anti-encroachment drive in South Delhi that's been on for the last couple of days. It's a 10-day anti-encroachment drive. Locals were initially seen sitting on the road trying to block the bulldozers, a high police presence as well, and many of the protesters even dragged away by the police for protesting against the drive. There you can see the main road in front of Shaheen Bagh, and now a scaffolding in front of a particular shop is being brought down. The steel bars are being brought down as part of this anti-encroachment drive. Now, Shaheen Bagh had shot to fame 2 years ago when it became this epicenter, this big area where you saw this massive anti-CA protest taking place against the citizenship law. And it had become a symbol of that resistance to the law, with women, hundreds of them, sitting there every day in a peaceful protest. So this road had been blocked for months on end, finally being called off after the COVID lockdown was announced. But there you can see now in Shaheen Bagh, the anti-encroachment drive taking place. The locals there, local residents, very agitated over it, questioning the targeting by the MCD, saying many of the shops have been here for years, and that now suddenly why has the MCD decided to carry out an anti-encroachment drive, given that many of these shops have been in existence for several years and also with permissions. But let's just listen in to what Amanatullah Khan had to say.
सारे RWO के साथ में निकला, जो इंक्रोचमेंट था जहाँ जहाँ मैंने सब हटा दिया। मेरे आह्वान पे लोगों ने हटा लिया, और मैं शुक्र अदा करता हूँ अपने इलाके के लोगों का कि उन्होंने हमारे मान सम्मान को रखा। एक मस्जिद के सामने वज़ू खाना था, टॉयलेट था, वो मैंने खुद से अपनी 2 दिन JCB दे करके, अपनी फ्लड इरिगेशन से, अपने पैसे से 2 दिन खुद दे करके खुद हटवाया। जब यहाँ कोई इंक्रोचमेंट है ही नहीं तो ये आए क्यों हैं? बताओ क्यों आए ये पूरी वार्ड में आप बोल रहे हैं कि इंक्रोचमेंट नहीं? अरे जहाँ है मुझे बताएं, मैं हटवा लूँगा। जहाँ है मुझे बताएं, मैं हटवा लूँगा। मैं लोकल विधायक हूँ। जहाँ है, हाँ बताइए। नहीं अभी आप जी नहीं हटाओ, नहीं जाना गया, बताइए। हाँ बताओ, वहीं से बताओ, नहीं वहीं से बताओ, नहीं वहीं से बताओ, बताइए, वहीं से बताइए। थोड़ा अभी ऐसे कर रहे हैं उसको, हट रहे हैं, हटा लो। बिल्कुल मैं खामोश हूँ, एक लफ्ज कहा, आप लोगों को मालूम है ना, मैंने खुद हटाया। आप यहाँ लोकल थे, SHO साहब मौजूद है, आपसे हटाकर खुद गया मैं। SHO साहब बताओ, मैं खुद आया था, मैंने उस वुजू खाने को आपके सामने तोड़वाया, उस बाथरूम को आपके सामने तोड़वाया। मैंने जब सारा इंक्रोचमेंट हटा दिया, आपसे कल मेरी बात हुई कि बिल्कुल हट गया है। अगर कोई है मुझे बताओ, मैं फिर हटा दूंगा, मैं हटा दूंगा। आप है ना, बिल्कुल जाए, बिल्कुल जाए, बिल्कुल जाए। थैंक यू वेरी मच, थैंक यू वेरी मच।
We are receiving some reports that perhaps the anti-encroachment drive has stopped, but waiting for confirmation of that. As you heard, the Aam Aadmi Party MLA there saying he himself has taken action against any encroachments in the area, and he said there's no need for these bulldozers. Whatever, if the MCD has identified some illegal encroachments, he will have them removed. He said he even had a construction in front of the mosque removed, which was where people used to wash their hands, etc. before namaz. And he said if there's anything else that is illegal, he says people of the area cooperated with him, and he is the local MLA, and he will take action against any illegal encroachments. The MCD just has to tell him. But let's now go across to PKD Nambiar, a BJP supporter, joining us on the phone line, and Ravi Srivastava, AAP supporter, political analyst, joining us there. PKD Nambiar, first to you, what would you say, about the criticism of this action by the MCD, which is controlled by the BJP, given that these particular colonies are being targeted, and this big show of strength with, the bulldozers being brought there to carry out this anti-encroachment drive?
Gargi, why don't we think on another way? Why this is called as BJP government or a BJP MCD and etc. There are encroachments on the public land that needs to be removed. I think we all need to upload irrespective of a political lineage of each other.
But what's been pointed out is that there are many areas in Delhi that have encroachments. Why these particular colonies? And we say BJP because BJP MCD because it was after the BJP Delhi chief asked for MCD to take action in Jahangir Puri is when we saw this demolition taking place in Jahangir Puri. So obviously acting on that letter that was sent by the BJP Delhi chief.
Gargi, if the political leadership is taking to implement the law of the land, and if there are illegal encroachments have to be taken out, irrespective of which area it is from, whether they are Muslims staying there or Hindus staying there, how does that matter? Even in Jahangir Puri, there was some kind of a media outrage initially saying that it was all about targeting the Muslims, and then when the reality comes out, it was nothing to do with only a Muslim or a Hindu.
Well, we don't know that yet because it was all the shops next to the mosque that were demolished, even a Jew stall that had been there for many years, and even the gates of the mosque were demolished, even though the Supreme Court had asked for them to stop. But Ravi Srivastava, what would you say to this, that it's the law of the land, PKD Nambiar claiming, and it's this, this anti-encroachment drive meant to benefit all citizens?
Hello?
All right, we seem to have lost the line there with Ravi Srivastava, but PKD Nambiar, also the local MLA there, saying that he's had the illegal encroachments removed and the MCD only need contact him. There's no need for this big show of strength, and let's face it, the bulldozers have become this sort of symbol of the state cracking down on particular areas, particular people.
Amanatullah Khan was in an MLA from that area for the last 9 years, and you and me may be driving through that road of Shaheen Bagh, and we have seen the number of buildings which have come up on either side of the road, and you can't even, there are most of the gullies, if you have ever been to that particular area of the Okhla and the Shaheen Bagh area, you can't even just get your car or for that matter to a two-wheeler inside. And if you want a
that
Delhi,
is the colony you're talking about, and that is in many of these urban villages in Delhi. We've seen, if you're talking about the main road, yes, on one side I've seen there's shops, on the other side there aren't, and those shops have been there for many years now, and they're big shops. They're big, if you see from the visuals there, they're very big shops. They couldn't have been built there without any kinds of permission.
Absolutely. This is precisely I am saying you that under his MLA-ship, there is number of commercial areas have come up in that area. And if you ever happen to go to that, to cross the border, you will be finding it on the 2 lanes of cars are parked even in the peak, the traffic time. I think we need to create a capital, because even Arvind Kejriwal says he wanted to build Delhi as like a London or a Paris, and with large number of illegal colonies and illegal encroachments, how can you forget about France or Paris or a London? How will you even able to create a decent place for us to live? I think let's talk without political lineage. If an authorities are taking onto an illegal property, let's upload our system, and if anything which is legal property.
PKD Nambiar, I have driven through there, and yes, you're right, there are lots of these big shops on one side. The road is also quite wide, and if you're talking about double cars being parked, double parking of cars, that's something that the MCD can definitely take action against and ensure that traffic flows even better. But as Amanatullah Khan was saying, that certain illegal constructions have already been removed, and if the locals there are cooperating, he said that the people are cooperating and more can be removed. removed. However, there needn't be this kind of show of strength and, huge security, and now you have all these bulldozers. There is what he is saying.
I think, Gargi, what is the real challenge for any of you or for me? If any of the legal property is being removed by a bulldozer or for an authority, you and me should be questioning. If somebody has encroached the public land, created a mansion or a building or a commercial or a residential, that needs to go. And there is no question about it. Whether if it is MCD or a Delhi government or a PWD or a central government, it doesn't matter. I think all illegal construction should go off. We need to have better roads, we need to have better infrastructure, and there is no doubt. And if it is not illegal, there are courts in this country, there are other authorities in this country to approach and get it done. But I know for the fact, for those shops which you are talking about, they are not somebody's like a poor man sitting there. They are like very big commercial buildings, big brands like an Adidas or a Reebok, or many of these shopping mall brands are there doing their business. And why are we all sympathizing for these buildings? I don't understand that.
I don't think anybody is sympathizing, but one can imagine that they've not come up without some sort of permission from the MCD, and it's been years and years that we've been seeing these big shops there, as you said, very big brands also existing over there. In fact, when the Shaheen Bagh protest was going on, that was one of the complaints that many of you who are critical of the protest said, that why are these shops being made to suffer when, this protest is carrying on and the shops weren't being able to do their business, and speaking out in defense of those very shop owners. But it seems that right now we're getting the news that the anti-encroachment drive has stopped. Thank you so much, PKD Nambiar, for joining us. But that is the news now. We'll try and go across to our reporter there to find out what's happening. But for the moment, it seems that the anti-encroachment drive may have been stopped.
चमकाने के चक्कर में और देखेंगे यहाँ पर जो प्रदर्शनकारी हैं आपको नजर आएंगे जो यहाँ पर नारेबाजी करते नजर आ रहे हैं। तो यहाँ पर ऐसा लगता नहीं है कि बुलडोजर चला लेना बहुत आसान होगा किसी के लिए भी। और यहाँ पर यहाँ पर जो कांग्रेस के कार्यकर्ता हैं आंसू खान, उनको भी पुलिस ने डिटेन किया था। परवेज हैं, उनको भी पुलिस ने डिटेन किया। तो कई कार्यकर्ता हैं वो डिटेन हुए हैं। और यहाँ पर आपको नजर आएंगे आपको जो यहाँ पर जो कार्यकर्ता हैं वो भी थोड़ा सा और कार्यकर्ता देखिए यहाँ पर पहुंचे हैं। शारिक
लोग जो है वो विरोध कर रहे हैं कि यहाँ पर मामले को तूल बहुत ज़्यादा दिया जा रहा है, बहुत ज़्यादा हाइप दिया जा रहा है। और इसी के वजह से आप देखिए कि तमाम सारी मीडिया का जो विरोध है वो हो रहा है। बार बार पुलिस भी इन लोगों से कह रही है, जिन लोगों का विरोध हो रहा है, कि थोड़ा सा दूर रहें वो, क्योंकि इससे कानून व्यवस्था बिगड़ सकती है। अभी एक तरफ का जो रूट है वो चालू है, लेकिन अब यहाँ स्थानीय लोग तमाम सारे आ गए हैं और उनका कहना है कि वो खुद अतिक्रमण हटाने में सहयोग कर रहे हैं, लेकिन उसके बावजूद तमाम सारे ऐसे लोग हैं तो बढ़ा चढ़ा कर चीज़ों को दिखा रहे हैं और इससे पूरे इलाके के शाहीन बाग के। तो इसी के वजह से तमाम सारे लोग जो है वो विरोध कर रहे हैं यहाँ पर मीडिया का। और ये जो बुलडोजर है, जैसा कि सौरभ बता रहे थे, अभी यहाँ पर ऐसे खड़ा हुआ है और एक डेढ़ घंटे हो गए हैं। अब ये बुलडोजर तो कहीं नहीं चला है, लेकिन ये जो सामने निर्माण करने के लिए कुछ लोगों ने ये लोहे के पाइप लगाकर और निर्माण करना चाह रहे थे, उसको अब वो लोग खुद ही हटा रहे हैं। तो हालांकि मामला अभी अतिक्रमण को लेकर ऐसा कोई यहाँ पर कानून व्यवस्था बिगड़ने के हालात नहीं है, लेकिन चूंकि मीडिया इतनी बड़ी तादाद में है और अलग अलग तरीके के लोग यहाँ पर आए हुए हैं, जो स्थानीय लोग हैं, उनका तमाम सारा विरोध है कुछ मीडिया को लेकर, तो इसके वजह से थोड़ा सा माहौल में गर्मा गर्मी फिर से एक बार देखी जा रही है। और तमाम सारे मीडिया वालों को ये कहा जा रहा है कि आप यहाँ से हटिए, यहाँ रिपोर्टिंग न करिए। तो स्थानीय लोगों का ये कहना है कि अगर नगर निगम एक बार स्थानीय विधायक, पार्षद और जो यहाँ के RWA है उनके सहयोग से अगर अतिक्रमण हटाती है तो उन्हें कोई दिक्कत नहीं है, क्योंकि अतिक्रमण से तो सबसे ज़्यादा दिक्कत स्थानीय लोगों को आने जाने में होती है। तो इसी के चलते उनका कहना है कि अगर भरोसे में लेकर इस अतिक्रमण को चलाया जाता तो कोई उनको दिक्कत नहीं थी। हालांकि नगर निगम के अभी कुछ नेताओं से हमारी बात हो रही थी, उनका ये कहना है कि दिल्ली के अंदर तमाम सारी ऐसी जगह हैं जहां पर अतिक्रमण हो रही थी। सवाल सारी ये उठता है कि आखिर ये अतिक्रमण करवा कौन रहा है, जिनकी जिम्मेदारी है सड़क से अतिक्रमण हटवाने की, वो अब तक क्यों सोते रहे। और तमाम सारी ऐसी जगह हैं दिल्ली के अंदर में जहाँ पर आपको पता है कि पैसे देकर और उसके बाद में बिल्डिंगें बन जाती हैं। तो जिनकी जिम्मेदारी है अतिक्रमण हटाना, सबसे पहले उनके ऊपर में कार्रवाई होनी चाहिए। एक ऐसा सिस्टम बनना चाहिए ताकि दिल्ली की सड़कों पर अतिक्रमण ना हो और अतिक्रमण के नाम पर इस तरीके की राजनीति ना हो। क्योंकि हम देखते आए हैं जब से उत्तर प्रदेश की सियासत में बुलडोज़र को लेकर सियासत चमकी है और सियासी जीत हासिल हुई है, सियासी फ़ायदा पहुंचा है, उसके बाद में ये जो बुलडोज़र है और जो नाम बदलने की राजनीति है वो दिल्ली के अंदर में भी अलग अलग तरीक़ों से खेली जा रही है। तो कहीं ना कहीं इस बुलडोज़र के ज़रिए ये दिखाने की कोशिश की जा रही है कि अतिक्रमण तो हटाना है लेकिन एक सियासत भी इसके पीछे खेली जा रही है। तो इसी के चलते जो है वो कहीं ना कहीं नाराज़गी है स्थानीय लोगों में। और आप देखिए कि तमाम सारी दुकानें जो हैं वो आज इसी के वजह से बंद कर दी गई हैं। तमाम सारे लोगों का कहना है कि हो सकता है कि कोई जो है वो पॉलिटिकल वेंडेटा में उनकी दुकानों को तोड़ा जाए, तो इसी की वजह से तमाम सारे लोगों ने दुकान अपनी बंद कर रखी है। अब ये जो लोहे के रॉड यहाँ पर लगे हैं ये स्थानीय लोग खुद ही अब यहाँ से हटा रहे हैं। लेकिन आज सैकड़ों की तादाद में यहाँ इस वक्त मीडिया मौजूद है। ये जो सड़क आप देख रहे हैं ये सरिता विहार से कालिंदी किंज होते हुए नोएडा की तरफ जाती है। अभी एक लेन जो है वो सड़क की चल रही है, लेकिन मीडिया का बहुत सारा जमावड़ा है। बड़े बड़े यहाँ पर एंकर आए हुए हैं, तमाम सारे रिपोर्टर यहाँ पर मौजूद हैं, ओबी वैन्स यहाँ पर लगी हुई हैं। एक बहुत ही आप कह सकते हैं हिस्टोरिक की बहुत ही हाई प्रोफाइल ये अतिक्रमण हटाने का अभियान है। हालांकि अतिक्रमण दिल्ली के अलग अलग जगहों पर हटता रहा है, लेकिन ये बहुत चूँकि हाई प्रोफाइल अतिक्रमण हटाने का अभियान हो चुका है, क्योंकि इसके ऊपर में सियासी एक बड़ा खेल है, एक सियासत बहुत ज़बरदस्त खेली जाती है। तो इसी के वजह से ये बुलडोज़र जो है उसको ये प्रदर्शित किया जा रहा है कि बुलडोज़र के जरिए एक खास राजनीति को भी दिखाने की कोशिश चल रही है। तो यही वजह है। कुछ लोगों से बात करते हैं।
From Shaheen Bagh, what we've learned is the encroachment drive, anti-encroachment drive has now been stopped. That is the news, the big breaking news coming in, and a lot of, as you can see, focus on Shaheen Bagh given its symbolism during the anti-CA protest, with the bulldozers now arriving there as a part of the anti-encroachment drive. There's one shop there with the scaffolding in which the people who own it themselves are having that scaffolding removed. The local MLA Amanatullah Khan said that all illegal encroachments have already been removed and he'll cooperate with any sort of action the MCD may want to take. Let's go across to Saurabh Shukla for the latest. Now Saurabh, tell us what's happening. Right, Saurabh, give us the latest.
These are the visuals. The structure, it has been removed by the local market association himself. Yes, Gargi, right now we are at the spot and you can see there was some holding right outside this building and people have removed, the market association got the laborers and they have assured MCD that they will themselves remove this structure, and they have removed it. You can see and you can see that bulldozer being reversed. So bulldozer is moving away from the demolition site. So now after almost 2 hours of high voltage drama here, when Amanatullah Khan arrived, he assured Delhi police that he is coordinating with the locals market association and they will themselves remove the encroachment if there is any. And you can see people have closed the markets here. And Gargi, let me tell you, this is the same spot where that famous protest of Shaheen Bagh women happened, and this demolition drive is happening here. I'm joined by Amanatullah himself. Amanatullah Khan, I will try and speak with Amanatullah Khan himself right here. I am trying to speak with Amanatullah Khan. हमारे साथ अमानतुल्लाह खान है, अपना काम कर रहे हैं, धक्का नहीं देंगे। अमानत बताइए क्या हुआ, बुलडोजर पीछे हट गया, क्या हुआ पूरी बात?
यहाँ इंक्रोचमेंट था ही नहीं, एक पेड़ बंधी हुई थी, इसको ये कहने लगे साहब वो बुलडोजर वहां जाकर खड़ा कर दिया। मुझे मालूम था ये खबरें दिखाएंगे कि हमने देखो अतिक्रमण हटा दिया, तो मैंने खुद कहा इसे हटा दो, पेड़ बंधी हुई है सफेदी करने के लिए, इंक्रोचमेंट कहीं नहीं है। ये 13A रोड है, जो नोएडा को उत्तर प्रदेश, जो दिल्ली को उत्तर प्रदेश और हरियाणा से जोड़ता है। पीडब्ल्यूडी के विभाग के लोग, हमारा अपना डिपार्टमेंट है, एक भी सीढ़ी, एक भी पेड़ी यहाँ पर नहीं है जो थी। मेरे आह्वान पे मैं शुक्रिया अदा करता हूँ अपने इलाके के लोगों का, तमाम RWA का, तमाम मार्केट एसोसिएशन का, मैंने खुद हटाया। और एक मस्जिद के आगे टेम्परेरी, क्योंकि वहाँ कंस्ट्रक्शन चल रहा था, टेम्परेरी वुजू खाना और उन्होंने टॉयलेट बनाया था अपनी JCB से। मैंने कहा इसे मैं तुड़वाना चाहता हूँ। वहाँ के मदरसे के जो लोग थे, मस्जिद के जो लोग थे, उन्होंने खुद कर।
अमानत, अभी यहाँ से बुलडोजर हट गया है, क्या आपकी बात हुई पुलिस आपसे क्या कह रही है?
मैंने पुलिस वालों से यही कहा था आप ही के सामने कि भाई आपके सामने मैंने सब हटा दिया, सब क्लियर करा दिया कि हाँ जी क्लियर करा दिया। फिर क्या है? कहने लगे जी कुछ नहीं है, हम जा रहे हैं।
मंशा क्या है MCD की यहाँ पर?
यहाँ लाकर बुलडोजर को खड़ा करना, फिर दिखाना अमानतुल्लाह ने रोक दिया, फिर कहे कि देखो MCD जो कार्रवाई कर रही थी अमानतुल्लाह ने रोक दिया, शाहीन बाग में रोक दिया। जहाँ इंक्रोचमेंट नहीं है आप वहाँ आए हो तो हम तो रोकेंगे।
अमानत, ये बताइए ठीक वही जगह है जहाँ पर नागरिकता कानून के खिलाफ प्रदर्शन।
All right, so the local AAP MLA there telling NDTV Saurav Shukla that they had already removed all the illegal encroachments in the area, and let's just go back to that interview.
तोड़ने आओगे तो मैं तो आऊंगा ना, मेरा रोड है ये पीडब्ल्यूडी का, मेरे विभाग का रोड है, मेरे विभाग के अधिकारी आ जाए, एमसीडी के अधिकारी आ जाए, मेरे साथ पुलिस वाले बैठे, कुछ भी इंक्रोचमेंट अगर गलत होगा तो मैं खुद तोड़वा दूंगा। ये माहौल खराब ना करें।
माहौल खराब नहीं करने की बात हो रही है, तो अभी पुलिस क्या कह रही है आपसे? पुलिस क्या कह रही है?
पुलिस को तो मालूम है। मैंने 5 दिन पहले एक आदमी से जाकर आह्वान किया, सबने पीछे कर लिया। अपना सामान जो रखा था, टी-शर्ट रखी थी, शर्ट रखी थी, तख्त लगा था, सब पीछे कर लिया और कह दिया अब कभी आप आगे नहीं आओगे, वो आगे भी नहीं आएंगे। तो जब हम खुद कर रहे हैं, जब यहाँ का विधायक अमानतुल्लाह खुद इंक्रोचमेंट को हटा रहा है, तो फिर आप राजनीति
बात बताइए। मस्जिद वाली बात क्या बताइए?
मस्जिद के सामने, मस्जिद में कंस्ट्रक्शन चल रहा है, तो उन्होंने टेम्परेरी वुजू खाना आगे बना लिया था, बहुत चौड़ा रोड है वो नाले पर। तो मैंने उनसे कहा कि इसको आप हटा लीजिए। उन्होंने कहा कि अमानत भाई JCB मंगा करके आप खुद हटवा दीजिए। तो मैंने JCB मंगाई, 2 दिन मैंने खुद हटाया और वो फोटो है, दिखाना जरा था आदिल।
यानी मस्जिद के बाहर जो अतिक्रमण था आपने खुद हटवा दिया?
मैंने बिल्कुल खुद हटा दिया, क्योंकि वो टेम्परेरी बना हुआ था। जब मैं मस्जिद के सामने से इंक्रोचमेंट जो भी है पहले हटा सकता हूँ तो कहीं और से नहीं हटा सकता। तो हमारा ये बड़प्पन है।
क्या राजनीति करने की मंशा है?
बिल्कुल, हमारी ये बड़प्पन है और ये दिखाना चाहते हैं कि देखो मस्जिद के सामने इंक्रोचमेंट था, मैंने खुद हटवा दिया। वो मैं आपको फोटो दिखाता हूँ, लाना आदिल वो फोटो।
तो अमानतुल्लाह पुलिस यहाँ से हट गई है, बुलडोजर चला गया है पीछे, तो कहीं ना कहीं
जब भी इंक्रोचमेंट होगा मुझे अधिकारी आकर बताएं, MCD के लोग बताएं, मैं यहाँ लोकल विधायक हूँ, मैं खुद कोऑपरेट करूंगा।
ये लेटर कहाँ क्या लिख रहे हैं? लेटर लिख रहे हैं, अमानतुल्लाह इज राइटिंग अ लेटर गार्गी।
ये कोई बेचारा अस्पताल में एडमिट है,
अच्छा, उसके
लिए बिल के लिए पैसे नहीं होंगे तो वो वेव ऑफ करने के लिए कह रहा हूँ।
हाँ, तो ये these are the pictures, visuals गार्गी right here, shown by the अमानतुल्लाह team here. They have removed, they are themselves removing the structures. So ये बताइए अमानतुल्लाह कि यहाँ पर जब इतनी राजनीति हो गई, इतना मीडिया का जमावड़ा हो गया, कहीं ना कहीं यहाँ पर कार्रवाई करके क्या संकेत देने की कोशिश कर रही है MCD?
ये संकेत क्या है? देखिए इंक्रोचमेंट तो है नहीं, आप जहाँ इंक्रोचमेंट नहीं है वहाँ आप आए हो, फिर आप आओगे तो मैं तो खड़ा हुआ मिलूंगा। जब मेरे आह्वान पर लोगों ने हटा लिया, अब उनका अगर घर तोड़ोगे तो मैं तो खड़ा हुआ मिलूंगा, लोकल विधायक हूँ। तो ये दिखाना चाहते हैं कि देखो MCD की कार्रवाई को अमानतुल्लाह जैसे गुंडे ने, अमानतुल्लाह जैसे जिहादी ने, अकेले मुसलमानों की दुकान नहीं है यहाँ, मुसलमानों से ज्यादा आधे हिंदू भाइयों की दुकान है इस रोड पर, उन्हीं की बेची हुई जमीन है ये, सारे गुजरों की जमीन बेची हुई है, जसोला गांव की जमीन।
वापस आते हैं। यू कैन हियर अमानतुल्लाह खान, एंड द गुड न्यूज हियर फ्रॉम गार्गी दैट द बुलडोजर्स are now not here. They cannot be seen here. Bulldozer, Delhi police and MCD officials, they have moved the bulldozers from the spot, and you can see they have removed the structures at Shaheen Bagh. Amanatullah, who is alleging that there was no illegal structure. People have already removed the illegal structures. They have kept their showcases, their clothing just to showcase, but people have already removed it. And you can see the locals are here. CRPF, you can see CRPF personnel, police personnel, but demolition drive, we can say with full responsibility that demolition drive did not happen. Bulldozer did arrive. They were about to demolish, but at the right time, Amanatullah arrived and Market Association was there, and clearly Market Association said that there is no need to demolish this site. People will themselves remove the structures. There is no problem of law and order. Amanatullah was here standing along with the Market Association people. So as of now, bulldozer have been moved from here. Amanatullah is here, the local MLA, and people are saying there is no illegal structures here at Shaheen Bagh. So as of now, no demolition drive is happening at Shaheen Bagh. People have moved their the temporary structures, and as of now, our situation is under control. Police personnel are deployed. The locals were hooting out few media people, and they were also putting allegations on media as well that people are trying to give bad name to Shaheen Bagh because anti-CAA protest happened, and this is the right. I'm standing at the spot where that anti-CAA protest happened at Shaheen Bagh, Gargi. So this is the spot, and that was there, the structure, and the structure was there for the whitewash, for the painting thing. But people have removed that structure. You can see they did not involve MCD people, they did not involve police. So local police did play an important role to convince MCD not to take any action and not to stop Bulldozer, and they did. So as of now, demolition drive is not happening here. The Bulldozer and MCD officials have moved from the site. Everything seems to be in under control. I've joined by a few locals. आप ये बताइए यहाँ पर क्या किसी तरह का कोई illegal structure था क्या?
All right, we're going to have to interrupt that live report by Saurabh Shukla, who's bringing us the news that the anti-encroachment drive has stopped there after the intervention of the AAP MLA, who said they've already removed all the illegal sort of encroachments, including stalls. A scaffolding was also removed in front of a shop, and he says nothing there is an illegal encroachment. So the anti-encroachment drive in Shaheen Bagh has stopped. Will return with more updates.
Facts build stories, but views shape them. And we are here to bring you both. But in an increasingly polarized world, it is very easy to get swayed in one direction. Breaking the monopoly of narratives, breaking the concept of one-sided arguments, breaking the selective presentation of facts. Because when you hear all views, that's when you get the complete picture. Breaking views. Get the complete picture.
One thing that's clear, our world is changing forever. NDTV, real news by real journalists.
Now cryptocurrency ऊपर जाएंगे और नीचे जाएंगे. Bitcoin, blockchain, Dogecoin, हर चीज एक revolutionary solution.
The noisy buzz of cryptocurrency tiring you much? Take an easy sip of coffee and crypto. Your one-stop destination for simplified explainers, industry experts, newsmakers, and Janta's opinions. This is the coffee shot you need to get high on crypto.
Watch CoinSwitch presents Coffee and Crypto every Friday at 6:30 p.m. only on NDTV 24/7.
Good evening. It's 8 o'clock. You're watching NDTV for the news that matters, the news you trust. You said in this report that this crisis, like no other, will have a recovery like no other.
This is a crisis, it's a global crisis that's not going to be solved locally.
When we talk of a digital health mission in a country like India, where there are so many different standards of access, how do you actually look at that?
Digital divide does not mean having a device in everybody's hands. So you have to design it for universality, even when you're using a digital backbone.
Priya, for you, when you had stood in the dock, as it were, when you gave your defense, and you said, my only defense is the truth.
Absolutely. And I feel that sexual harassment at the workplace has got the attention it deserves.
NDTV, the news that matters, the news you need, at 8 o'clock.
Only on NDTV 24/7.
Legacy is often seen as a burden of expectations. It comes with its own set of challenges. The challenge to take it forward, challenge to reimagine, challenge to be in the present, and also challenge to think about the future.
What accountability are you talking about?
As long as the core values and principles remain uncompromised. Debates are essential not just for journalism but for humanity. It ignites our mind, opens it up for counter-opinion. to hear all views, opinion of all hues. Which is why the oldest running debate show on Indian news television is not 22 years old, but it is young at 22.
इस इनिशिएटिव को मैं अभिनंदन करता हूं कि सच को सच के रूप में पेश करने का उन्होंने साहस दिखाया.
So let us begin the big fight.
They say the zero is nothing unless it connects the dots and the real story emerges. Unless it captures the truth. They say the camera never lies. Unless it is the essence of India, of diversity and tolerance. Unless it reveals the wealth of nations and silences the barrel of a gun. Unless it reflects the sadness in the eye of the tiger as forests disappear. In fact, the dot is the center of your universe and of ours. The dot is the essence of NDTV, the essence of just one word: trust.
सच दिखाते हैं ताकि दुनिया के बाजार में आजादी सस्ती न बिक जाए. कुर्सी पे बैठने वालों को जमीन की अहमियत याद रहे. सच दिखाते हैं हम ताकि पैसे की चमक से कभी हुनर ना पड़े फीका. खुदगर्जी खोखला न बना दे सोचने का तरीका. सच दिखाते हैं हम ताकि अच्छे विचार और आदर्श
Welcome back. The big breaking news we can now bring you is the anti-encroachment drive at Shaheen Bagh in South Delhi has been halted. This after the intervention of the local MLA Amanatullah Khan, after he said that most of the illegal encroachments had been removed and that the locals would then cooperate if the MCD could identify more illegal encroachment. Now, this is a part of the anti-encroachment drive that was announced by the South Delhi MCD against in various areas of South Delhi. Well, let's go across to Saurabh Shukla, who joins us from Shaheen Bagh. And Saurabh, you just spoke to Amanatullah Khan, who spoke about how they'd already removed a lot of illegal encroachments, even a toilet that was being built in front of the mosque. He says he himself had it demolished. So he says any sort of cooperation, any encroachments that need to be removed, that the locals would then cooperate, and there was no need for this big show of strength with bulldozers.
Absolutely, Gargi. That's what Amanatullah said. In fact, I've joined by a local who has removed the structure, and they are saying that they had put up this structure for the painting purpose. And a bulldozer did arrive here, but after the intervention of local market association and Amanatullah, then locals have decided to remove the structure themselves. आपका नाम बताइए?
मोहम्मद सलीम, मैं यहाँ के RWA से वाइस प्रेसिडेंट हूँ, शाहीन बाग से.
आप RWA, he is the vice president of local RWA. Yes, tell me. Go on. बताइए क्या हुआ यहाँ पर आज?
कुछ भी नहीं हुआ. ये इन्होंने अपना पेंट के लिए स्ट्रक्चर लगाया हुआ था, स्क्वायर फोल्डिंग का, जो कि उन्होंने अपने हाथ से रिमूव करा है. MCD वाले आए थे, उन्होंने कुछ भी काम नहीं करा. हमने ये उनका था जिनका उन्होंने अपने हाथ से हटवाया है.
अच्छा, आप RWA के यहाँ पर एसोसिएशन के वाइस प्रेसिडेंट हैं. क्या आप लोग यहाँ पर जो अवैध निर्माण हैं, जो इलीगल स्ट्रक्चर्स हैं, आप लोगों ने अपने आप हटवा लिए हैं?
कोई भी इस तरीके का नहीं है. आप खुद बताइए ना. MCD आई थी, एक तो बिना नोटिस के आई थी. ठीक है, किसी भी वजह से कोई भी MCD आने के बाद उन्होंने कौन सी कार्रवाई करी है, मुझे एक भी साबित करके दिखा दीजिए. कुछ भी इलीगल कंस्ट्रक्शन नहीं है, और जो कुछ था वो अपने आप हटा दिया गया है.
आपने अपने आप हटा दिया है, और यहाँ पर जो यहाँ पर बांस बल्ली और रॉड लगाए थे वो भी हटा दिया?
जी बिल्कुल, अपने हाथ से हटाया गया है.
तो अभी MCD के लोग आपसे क्या बोल रहे हैं? RWA
कुछ भी नहीं बोल रहे, वो चले गए.
वो चले गए,
कुछ भी नहीं बोल रहे. कोई भी उन्होंने अपनी कार्रवाई नहीं करी थी, सिर्फ फॉर्मेलिटी करने आते हैं, और वो भी बीजेपी के कहने पे आते हैं, क्योंकि बीजेपी पे.
बताइए, आप RWA के वाइस प्रेसिडेंट हैं, ये कौन लोग हैं जो अवैध निर्माण करवा देते हैं? किस किस शय पर होता है कि MCD इन्वॉल्व होती है? लोग कहते हैं MCD वाले घूस लेते हैं आकर के.
अगर कोई भी इलीगल कंस्ट्रक्शन होता है तो MCD के कहने पे होता है, नहीं तो कोई भी इलीगल कंस्ट्रक्शन नहीं है. ना ही कोई मुद्दा था अवैध अतिक्रमण का, ना कि कंस्ट्रक्शन का। दोनों मुद्दों को साथ में जोड़ दिया गया है। सिर्फ अतिक्रमण का मुद्दा है, कंस्ट्रक्शन का मुद्दा तो है ही नहीं है कुछ भी। कहीं भी मुझे एक भी नोटिस में दिखा दीजिए कि कंस्ट्रक्शन का मुद्दा है, सिर्फ अतिक्रमण का मुद्दा है।
अच्छा, तो शाहीन
की यहीं टहलती रहती है, पुलिस भी यहीं रहता है। अगर आप जिस हिसाब से बात करें, ऐसा तो है नहीं कि अंधेरे में कोई काम किया जाता है। कोई भी काम होता है खुल के होता है ना।
तो आप कह रहे हैं एमसीडी के लोग घूस लेकर के लगाते हैं स्ट्रक्चर?
जाहिर सी बात है, जो है जाहिर सी बात है।
So locals are alleging that nothing is illegal here. In fact, MCD did not give any prior notice before the demolition. So let me give a small timeline to our viewers. In fact, at 9 a.m. When I spoke with the officials of MCD, I was informed, Gargi, that they are not getting force from Delhi police. They did attempt of this demolition drive twice before, but they did not get force from MCD. And today also in the morning, we were informed that they will not take place this demolition drive because they are not getting the force. But around 10:30, we were informed that Delhi police has agreed to provide them the force for this demolition drive. One bulldozer arrived here. Then around 11, the protesters, the workers of Congress, they reached at the spot. They sat right in front of the bulldozer, said that they will not allow this demolition drive to happen. Then they were detained around 11:45. Aap MLA Amanatullah Khan reached at the demolition site. He started speaking with the MCD officials and the DCP of Delhi Police, saying that there is no illegal structure. They have already removed everything which was illegal. And apart from that, Amanatullah also he is also claiming that there was some illegal structure at the mosque as well. He himself removed. Amanatullah, who is MLA from AAP, saying that if there is any illegal structure, MCD points out, then he himself is going to remove it with the help of locals. At around 12:30, Gargi, local, which they put up a small structure here for the painting purpose. Bulldozer was right out there. They were about to demolish that structure, but local and market association intervened. They said they are themselves removed. They are going to remove that structure by themselves. There is no need of bulldozer here at Shaheen Bagh. And then they removed the structure. Bulldozer and MCD officials waited till then.
All right, thanks so much, Saurabh. For that, Saurabh also spoke to Amanatullah Khan, so we'll just try and get to that interview in a bit. Let's go across now to Arvind, and he joins us from outside that same shop, Arvind, and that scaffolding behind you. This is, so the bulldozers that arrived at Shaheen Bagh have now turned back. That's what we understand. This after Amanatullah Khan intervened and said that all illegal encroachments have already been removed, and that the shop keeper had just put up that scaffolding to paint the exterior of the shop, and they brought it down themselves. So give us the very latest.
Yeah, Gargi, this is the only structure. This is that iron structure that was brought down. In fact, this was not brought down by the bulldozer. This was brought down by the shopkeeper themselves. In fact, this was a structure that was put up in order to assist them or help them. This is kind of an iron ladder in order to help them in the painting of this particular shop. This was the only structure that was brought down. We could see here, this is just an iron ladder kind of thing in order to assist the painters to paint this particular shop. So when we came here, we did see quite a swelled up crowd here. Almost 500 to 1,000 residents here. They have already gathered here, and we did see Delhi police personnel along with the paramilitary forces here in order to assist the South Delhi Municipal Corporation to go ahead with their anti-encroachment drive. But when we came here, we did see the bulldozer going back, moving away from this particular place. We are seeing some kind of paramilitary forces here along with the Delhi police personnel here. So it shows that there is no anti-encroachment drive or a kind of demolition drive that is happening here at the Shaheen Bagh, though the South Delhi Municipal Corporation made it clear that they will go ahead with the demolition drive or kind of anti-encroachment drive here at the Shaheen Bagh area. But the local resident here, along with Aam Aadmi legislator, that is the MLA of this particular locality, Amanatullah Khan, along with few other Congress workers here, they had a protest here saying that there is no encroachment in this particular entire area. Whatever it is here, it is everything legal. There is nothing encroached in this particular place. place. If at all, if there is anything encroached in this particular place, that has already been removed. So there is no encroachment here, and there is no need for the South Delhi Municipal Corporation to go ahead with their anti-encroachment drive. And that's why what we are seeing is that there is no anti-encroachment drive that is happening here. The only bulldozer that came, even that has left from this particular locality, the only structure that was brought down is this particular iron ladder that was set up to assist the painters to paint this particular building. That was the only thing that was brought down, and that was not brought down by the bulldozer here, that was brought down by the locals themselves here. So the bulldozer that came here for the anti-encroachment drive has left here. Only the locals are here and police personnel here to maintain law and order.
Right, so the bulldozers have turned back from Shaheen Bagh this after, and that anti-encroachment drive brought to a stop. And Arvind, for viewers who are not from Delhi, who don't know this area, because what we know is that this is a very big road. It is a road between Delhi and to Noida, and this entire row of shops that is on this particular side, they're not small shops. They're all very big brands. They're big showrooms that exist over here, and as you said, Amanatullah Khan, they're saying that any illegal encroachment, be it stalls, etc., were all removed. If anybody had a cart, he had it removed. However, he says there are no illegal encroachments on this particular, at least on this particular main road of Shaheen Bagh.
Yeah, Gargi, that's what Amanatullah Khan told the South Delhi Municipal Corporation authorities. What we are seeing, the scenes that we are seeing on our screen is Amanatullah Khan moving away from the Shaheen Bagh, because the bulldozer or the anti-encroachment drive, the bulldozer which is a symbol of anti-encroachment drive, has already left Shaheen Bagh, and that's why Amanatullah Khan is also leaving this place. So like you mentioned, the significance of this particular area to viewers outside Delhi, this is the exact place where the anti-CAA protest took place. These are this entire stretch, the road is full of shops, full of the apparels or textile shops here. This is the same place where the anti-CAA, the Shaheen Bagh, the protest took place, where women from this particular locality, they staged this protest here at the same road against the anti-citizenship, against the Citizenship Amendment Act, and they sat here on the same very road for months protesting against the Citizenship Amendment Act. And today, all of a sudden, the South Delhi Municipal Corporation told that they're gonna start this anti-encroachment drive here at the same stretch. But when the bulldozer came, when the authorities came, along with the police personnel, the locals, the residents here, they came in protest against it. They sat in front of the bulldozer, they protested against it, and even Amanatullah Khan, who is a legislator, who is a MLA from this locality, they came. He spoke to the authorities, saying that they asked them to show even one bit of encroachment here, because this entire stretch of road, according to them, is cleared. There is no encroachment here. Whatever the shop that we are seeing here is well within their own place. They have not encroached any public spaces, and that's why he asked the authorities to leave without disturbing the locality, without disturbing the resident here. And even the JCB or the bulldozer that came here for the anti-encroachment drive, that has also left. Only the locals here, and like you mentioned, this is the same place where the anti-citizenship amendment act protest took place here in the Shaheen Bagh.
Right, I can see somebody waving the tricolor as well, and that really reminds us of the anti-CA protest that took place here. This entire road was blocked with women used to sit here, hundreds of them every single day, in a peaceful protest, and finally that was called off due to the COVID lockdown. And at that same time, those who were critical of the anti-CA protest used to speak out for the shops, in fact, and say that their business had stopped for such a long time. But let's just listen into what the local MLA Amanatullah Khan told NDTV Saurabh Shukla when he said that he had already removed all illegal encroachments, any sort of carts or any sort of stalls that were existing there. And he said that in front of the mosque there was this temporary toilet that had been constructed for wuzu, and even that he had removed. He says he brought a JCB himself and brought it down, as that was an unauthorized construction and was built there because the mosque was undergoing some sort of renovation. Let's just listen in to that interview.
यहाँ इंक्रोचमेंट था ही नहीं, एक पेड़ बंधी हुई थी, इसको ये कहने लगे साहब वो बुलडोजर वहाँ जाकर खड़ा कर दिया। मुझे मालूम था ये खबरें दिखाएंगे कि हमने देखो अतिक्रमण हटा दिया, तो मैंने खुद कहा इसे हटा दो। पेड़ बंधी हुई है सफेदी करने के लिए, इंक्रोचमेंट कहीं नहीं है। ये 13A रोड है जो नोएडा को उत्तर प्रदेश, जो दिल्ली को उत्तर प्रदेश और हरियाणा से जोड़ता है। PWD के विभाग के लोग, हमारा अपना डिपार्टमेंट है, एक भी सीढ़ी, एक भी पेड़ी यहाँ पर नहीं है जो थी मेरे आह्वान पे। मैं शुक्रिया अदा करता हूं अपने इलाके के लोगों का, तमाम RWA का, तमाम मार्केट एसोसिएशन का। मैंने खुद हटाया और एक मस्जिद के आगे टेम्परेरी, क्योंकि वहाँ कंस्ट्रक्शन चल रहा था, टेम्परेरी वुजू खाना और उन्होंने टॉयलेट बनाया था अपनी JCB से। मैंने कहा इसे मैं तुड़वाना चाहता हूँ। वहाँ के मदरसे के जो लोग थे, मस्जिद के जो लोग थे, उन्होंने खुद कर।
अमानत, अभी यहाँ से बुलडोजर हट गया है, क्या आपकी बात हुई पुलिस आपसे क्या कह रही है?
मैंने पुलिस वालों से यही कहा था आप ही के सामने कि भाई आपके सामने मैंने सब हटा दिया, सब क्लियर करा दिया कि हाँ जी क्लियर करा दिया। फिर क्या है? कहने लगे जी कुछ नहीं है, हम जा रहे हैं। जब यहाँ इंक्रोचमेंट नहीं है, आप किसी का घर तोड़ने आओगे तो मैं तो आऊँगा ना। मेरा रोड है ये PWD का, मेरे विभाग का रोड है। मेरे विभाग के अधिकारी आ जाए, MCD के अधिकारी आ जाए, मेरे साथ पुलिस वाले बैठे, कुछ भी इंक्रोचमेंट अगर गलत होगा तो मैं खुद तोड़वा दूंगा। ये माहौल खराब ना करें।
All right, so now the anti-encroachment drive has stopped there in Shaheen Bagh. The bulldozers have returned. That's the latest we can tell you. Time for us to slip into a short break. We'll get you more news on the other side.
Brought to you by
the show where the country speaks its mind.
This is a first step in the direction of giving women at least a fighting chance.
This is all wishful thinking. Today also you see 23% of our girls are married off before 18.
Your mirror to what India thinks.
Everybody had that second thought, how could you be in fashion because you don't look like a person in fashion? And that for me needed to change.
We the people, with me, Sarah Jacob, only on NDTV. If you care about it, we'll talk about it.
Now cryptocurrency ऊपर जाएंगे और नीचे जाएंगे। Bitcoin, blockchain, Dogecoin, हर चीज एक revolutionary solution.
The noisy buzz of cryptocurrency tiring you much? Take an easy sip of coffee and crypto. Your one-stop destination for simplified explainers, industry experts, newsmakers, and Janta's opinions. This is the coffee shot you need to get high on crypto.
Watch CoinSwitch presents Coffee and Crypto every Friday at 6:30 p.m. only on NDTV 24/7.
This is NDTV. No noise, no shouting, news that informs and inspires.
Facts build stories, but opinions shape them. And we are here to bring you both.
A 360-degree look at the day's top stories. We are not afraid to take a stand.
No agendas, no excuses, no whataboutery, and no obfuscation. Cutting through agendas, obfuscation, whataboutery, excuses. Only one show gets to the heart of the matter and tells it like it really is. The biggest newsmakers with no wriggle room, only on No Spin.
Facts build stories, but views shape them. And we are here to bring you both. But in an increasingly polarized world, it is very easy to get swayed in one direction. Breaking the monopoly of narratives, breaking the concept of one-sided arguments, breaking the selective presentation of facts. Because when you hear all views, that's when you get the complete picture. Breaking views. Get the complete picture.
One thing that's clear, our world is changing forever. NDTV, real news by real journalists.
Now cryptocurrency ऊपर जाएंगे और नीचे जाएंगे। Bitcoin, blockchain, Dogecoin, हर चीज एक revolutionary solution.
The noisy buzz of cryptocurrency tiring you much? Take an easy sip of coffee and crypto. Your one-stop destination for simplified explainers, industry experts, newsmakers, and Janta's opinions. This is the coffee shot you need to get high on crypto.
Watch CoinSwitch presents Coffee and Crypto every Friday at 6:30 p.m. only on NDTV 24/7.
Good evening. It's 8 o'clock. You're watching NDTV for the news that matters, the news you trust. You said in this report that this crisis, like no other, will have a recovery like no other.
This is a crisis, it's a global crisis that's not going to be solved locally.
When we talk of a digital health mission in a country like India, where there are so many different standards of access, how do you actually look at that?
Digital divide does not mean having a device in everybody's hands. So you have to design it for universality, even when you're using a digital backbone.
Priya, for you, when you had stood in the dock, as it were, when you gave your defense, and you said, my only defense is the truth.
Absolutely. And I feel that sexual harassment at the workplace has got the attention it deserves.
NDTV, the news that matters, the news you need, at 8 o'clock.
Only on NDTV 24/7.
Legacy is often seen as a burden of expectations. It comes with its own set of challenges. The challenge to take it forward, challenge to reimagine, challenge to be in the present, and also challenge to think about the future.
What accountability are you talking about?
As long as the core values and principles remain uncompromised. Debates are essential not just for journalism but for humanity. It ignites our mind, opens it up for counter opinion. To hear all views, opinion of all hues. Which is why the oldest running debate
होती है जहांगीरपुरी के अंदर, तो गुप्ता जी और झा साहब का भी ऊपर कार्रवाई होती है, लेकिन तब उस कार्रवाई को नहीं देखा जाता। और आज जिस तरह से जो आम आदमी पार्टी कांग्रेस के नेता जिन लोगों के अतिक्रमण को बचाने के लिए बुलडोजर के सामने लेटे हैं, उनको देश और दिल्ली की जनता देख रही है। उनको बहुत जल्दी सबक मिलेगा और दिल्ली की जनता उनको लिटा देगी, क्योंकि वो आतंकियों के समर्थन में आए, वो बांग्लादेशी रोहिंग्या के समर्थन में आए। आपने देखा किस तरह से बांग्लादेशी रोहिंग्या, और मैं ये बड़ी जिम्मेदारी के साथ कह रहा हूँ कि ये निगम की पहली कार्रवाई नहीं है। इस अप्रैल महीने के अंदर, अप्रैल के बाद आज मई हो गया है, इस सवा महीने के अंदर ये 40 बार कार्रवाई हो चुकी है। चाहे मदनपुर खादर हो, बदरपुर हो, ओखला हो, किराड़ी हो, रिठाला हो, रोहनी हो, करोलबाग हो, हर जगह कार्रवाई चल रही है। लेकिन जिस तरह से इस बात को सांप्रदायिक आधार बनाया जा रहा है, ये बिल्कुल गलत है। जब कोई अतिक्रमण करता है तो वो धर्मनिरपेक्ष हो जाता है। जब अतिक्रमण के ऊपर कार्रवाई निगम कर रहा है तो उसको सांप्रदायिक बता रहे हो। जब कोई दंगा फैला रहा है तो कोई नहीं बोल रहा है, और जब दंगाइयों के ऊपर कार्रवाई होती है तो उसको सांप्रदायिक चश्मे से देखते हैं। तो ये जो चश्मा है, आम आदमी पार्टी और कांग्रेस जो अपीजमेंट की राजनीति कर रहे हैं, तुष्टीकरण की राजनीति कर रहे हैं, उनको आज ये सबक जरूर मिलेगा। जो आज इस अतिक्रमण के खिलाफ कार्रवाई, जो बांग्लादेशी रोहिंग्या और गैर कानूनी रूप से इस दिल्ली के अंदर आतंक फैलाने का काम करने वाले, अगर उनके ऊपर एक कार्रवाई चली है और उसके सामने जो लोग बुलडोजर के आगे लेटे हैं, उनको जनता लेटाने वाली है। ये बात मैं कहना चाहता हूँ। धन्यवाद।
All right, there you heard the Delhi BJP chief hitting out over the fact that Congress workers came here and protested against the anti-encroachment drive being carried out by the MCD. That drive has been halted now after the local MLA came and spoke with the MCD and police officials. At most, what was removed was this scaffolding that you can see in those visuals. That's now been brought down by the shopkeepers themselves. The local MLA, Amanatullah Khan, saying there is no illegal encroachment as such here in Shaheen Bagh, and that if any is identified, they would take action against it. And there you have that the encroachment drive there being halted in Shaheen Bagh. These are visuals from earlier when lots of protests were taking place. Congress workers were there, media was there, locals were there, and the police authorities were also there. And a number of these JCB machines had been brought there, but they all have now turned back after the local MLA there intervened and said there is no illegal encroachment. But we just heard the BJP now hitting out over the Congress action and trying to stop this anti-encroachment drive and using the usual phrases that he's used before as well of Rohingyas and Bangladeshis and how the numbers are increasing in the national capital. Well, moving on to other news and news from Russia now, where the Victory Day parade took place. This is an annual celebration in Russia where they celebrate it's the 75th. This comes in fact at a time when the war in Ukraine is underway, and Victory Day marks the day that Soviet Union defeated Nazi Germany in World War II. But this assumes significance given that it's coming at a time that Russia is engaged in the war in Ukraine. Let's listen in to what Putin said in his address. There had been a lot of speculation ahead of that, saying that would he declare a formal war, because till now it's not been called a war in Russia, whether he would say something against NATO. But what he spoke about is that all must be done to avoid global war. So interesting is that he made that statement at this Victory Day parade.
Fellow citizens of Russia, veterans, comrade soldiers, sailors, naval officers, army officers, corporals, members of the officer corps. I would like to congratulate you on this, the day where we remember the great victory, the moment when the country defended itself against an existential threat. That innate patriotism, that resistance spirit that was in the fighters in Kiev, Minsk, Stalingrad, Moscow, Kursk, Sevastopol, and Kharkov. Even today, you are fighting for our citizens, for our people in the Donbass region to defend Russia. On the 9th of May 1945, on that historic date, our people triumphed together. This was a perfect achievement on the front lines and behind. This day of victory is important to everyone in Russia. There is not a single family in Russia that was spared by the war. The Regiment of Immortals today honors our ancestors.
Every day today. They say the zero is nothing unless it connects the dots and the real story emerges. Unless it captures the truth. They say the camera never lies. Unless it is the essence of India, of diversity and tolerance. Unless it reveals the wealth of nations and silences the barrel of a gun. Unless it reflects the sadness in the eye of the tiger as forests disappear. In fact, the dot is the center of your universe and of ours. The dot is the essence of NDTV, the essence of just one word: trust.
सच दिखाते हैं ताकि दुनिया के बाजार में आजादी सस्ती न बिक जाए। कुर्सी पे बैठने वालों को जमीन की अहमियत याद रहे। सच दिखाते हैं हम ताकि पैसे की चमक से कभी हुनर ना पड़े फीका, खुदगर्जी खोखला न बना दे सोचने का तरीका। सच दिखाते हैं हम ताकि अच्छे विचार और आदर्श बस किताबी बातें ना रह जाएं।
चुनौतियां काफी ज्यादा हैं, बड़ी चुनौतियां हैं।
एक बेहतर कल चाहते हैं हम, इसलिए सच दिखाते हैं हम। NDTV इंडिया, जुबान पे सच, दिल में इंडिया।
The show where the country speaks its mind.
This is a first step in the direction of giving women at least a fighting chance.
This is all wishful thinking. Today also you see 23% of our girls are married off before 18.
Your mirror to what India thinks.
Everybody had that second thought, how could you be in fashion because you don't look like a person in fashion? And that for me needed to change.
We the people, with me, Sarah Jacob, only on NDTV. If you care about it, we'll talk about it.
Now cryptocurrency ऊपर जाएंगे और नीचे जाएंगे। Bitcoin, blockchain, Dogecoin, हर चीज एक revolutionary solution.
The noisy buzz of cryptocurrency tiring you much? Take an easy sip of coffee and crypto. Your one-stop destination for simplified explainers, industry experts, newsmakers, and Janta's opinions. This is the coffee shot you need to get high on crypto.
Watch CoinSwitch presents Coffee and Crypto every Friday at 6:30 p.m. only on NDTV 24/7.
This is NDTV. No noise, no shouting, news that informs and inspires.
Facts build stories, but opinions shape them, and we are here to bring you both.
A 360-degree look at the day's top stories. We are not afraid to take a stand.
No agendas, no excuses, no whataboutery, and no obfuscation. Cutting through agendas, obfuscation, whataboutery, excuses. Only one show gets to the heart of the matter and tells it like it really is. The biggest newsmakers with no wriggle room, only on No Spin.
Facts build stories, but views shape them. And we are here to bring you both. But in an increasingly polarized world, it is very easy to get swayed in one direction. Breaking the monopoly of narratives, breaking the concept of one-sided arguments, breaking the selective presentation of facts. Because when you hear all views, that's when you get the complete picture. Breaking views. Get the complete picture.
One thing that's clear, our world is changing forever. NDTV, real news by real journalists.
Now cryptocurrency ऊपर जाएंगे और नीचे जाएंगे। Bitcoin, blockchain, Dogecoin, हर चीज एक revolutionary solution.
The noisy buzz of cryptocurrency tiring you much? Take an easy sip of coffee and crypto.
Hello and welcome back. The demolition drive in South Delhi, including areas of Shaheen Bagh, has now been stopped. There's also a plea against STMC's demolitions, including the one in Shaheen Bagh. It's supposed to be heard at 2 p.m. today. The South Delhi Municipal Corporation carried out an anti-encroachment drive at Shaheen Bagh, which is at the center of massive protests against the contentious citizenship law. The exercise earlier that was scheduled to be held on Friday had been cancelled due to the unavailability of adequate security forces. This morning, Delhi police provided force at the site for the demolition drive, and visuals showed bulldozers reaching the area to move encroachment amid heavy police presence. Let's now go across to Sukirti to get details about the plea against this demolition drive. Sukirti, the plea is supposed to be heard at 2 p.m. What details can you tell us about the plea, what it seeks and what's expected out of the order?
Well, this petition by the CPIM was filed yesterday. It says that the demolitions that have been carried out by the STMC in South Delhi areas, so far they are illegal, and also there's one planned in Shaheen Bagh as well, which will take place between 9 to 13th May. All of these demolitions are illegal and should be stopped. They are a violation of fundamental rights, and they are all a part of a political game plan. This has nothing to do with any process of law being followed, and that is why there should be a stop on all of these demolitions. Now, that is the plea that had been filed by the CPIM yesterday. Today in the Supreme Court, before the Chief Justice of India, they pleaded for an urgent hearing. The court said that the matter is already listed before another bench, which has been hearing the Jahangirpuri demolition case already. So that bench is set to hear the matter now at about 2 p.m. So that's when we are likely to get the SDMC also represented, will be represented in court, and is likely to give its response on why this particular action was taken. But that is what is expected in the top court. So in about half an hour from now, we will get some clarity on the issue.
Right, Sukirti. So we'll keep tracking that order at the Supreme Court. Let's now also go across to Arvind, who's on the ground at Shaheen Bagh. Arvind, what is the situation like on the ground after the demolition drive has been stopped?
We are here now at Shaheen Bagh. This is the place where the South Delhi Municipal Corporation attempted an anti-encroachment drive here at the same very place where the Shaheen Bagh anti-CAA protest took place. This was the only structure that was brought down. In fact, this was brought down not by the South Delhi Municipal Corporation officials. In fact, this was brought down by the people themselves. In fact, what they are saying is that this particular structure, the iron ladder, was set up in order to help the painters to paint this particular building. This was the only structure that the officials objected to, and then when the officials said that this particular structure is in the encroached place, that's when the locals here, they themselves brought down this iron structure. So what we are explaining here is that if you could see the place, the road ends this particular point. According to the resident here, the road ends at this particular point, and this is the place. From this particular point, there is no encroachment. According to them, whatever structure, whatever building here, it is authorized building. There is no unauthorized building in any place here, and that's why, according to the locals here, when the officials came, they could not even find a single encroached property or an unauthorized structure here, and that's why they could not demolish anything, and that's why they left this particular place empty-handed. So this was the only iron structure, more like an temporary iron ladder that was set up to paint this particular building, that was brought down, and then that was brought down by the people themselves, and now they are disassembling this particular iron structure. What we are also likely to show to our viewers is that the locals have gathered here. They came here when the South Delhi Municipal Corporation officials came with the bulldozer along with the police personnel. So the locals are here, the residents are here. In fact, Aam Aadmi Party MLA Amanatullah Khan, who is the legislator from this particular locality, he came, he intervened, he spoke to the concerned officials here, saying that not even one building is unauthorized here. Everything has been built well within their own range. No one has encroached the public space, and he also pointed to how the road ends here, and everything from this particular point, there is no encroachment here. So that's why, according to the locals here, the South Delhi Municipal Corporation officials, they couldn't find any encroached property, and that's why they left Now only the locals are here. Even the bulldozer has left, and also the police personnel, the security personnel have also left. Now we have to wait and watch for what happens in the Supreme Court hearing that is scheduled for somewhere around 2 o'clock, wherein the overall anti-encroachment drive has been challenged by the residents.
Right, we'll keep an eye on that Supreme Court order that's upcoming. Thanks, Arvind, for joining us with the ground report. And moving on, the Supreme Court has 2 new judges today, with CJI N.V. Ramana administering the oath of office to Chief Justice of Guwahati High Court, Justice Sudhanshu Dhulia, and Gujarat High Court Judge Justice Jamshed B. Pardiwala. Justice Pardiwala will be in line to become the CJI in May 2028 for a span of over 2 years. With the appointment of the 2 judges, the top court regains its full strength of 34 judges. Let's now go across to Sukirti for more on this. Sukirti, the Supreme Court will now regain its full strength. How significant is that? It's happening after how long? And could you also tell us something about the 2 new Supreme Court judges?
Well, yes, both of these judges have been sworn in today as judges of the Supreme Court. One is coming from the Chief Justice of the Guwahati High Court, which is Sudhanshu Dhulia, and the other Justice J.V. Pardiwala was a Gujarat High Court judge. He's given several judgments in the Gujarat High Court during the entire COVID pandemic, which were very significant and also anti-government in nature at that point of time. They've both been practicing law since about the 1980s. They've been practicing law. Why their appointment is significant is because with these appointments, the Supreme Court is back to its biggest possible strength of 34 judges. However, tomorrow, Justice Vineet Saran will be retiring, which will again bring that strength back to 33. Now, appointments at this point of time are crucial for the Supreme Court because CJI N.V. Ramana, ever since he took charge, he has been ensuring that SC collegiums make recommendations on time. The government approvals also are speedy in nature, and that is why more and more vacancies can be filled. When CJI N.V. Ramana had joined, there were 9 vacancies in the Supreme Court, but last year 9 new judges were appointed, including 3 women judges, and this time again 2 more judges have been appointed. So a big drive over here from the Supreme Court to ensure that the country has a robust judiciary, and the top court of the country sets an example by filling up its vacancies on time so that lower courts of the country also follow suit.
Right, Sukirti, thanks for joining us on that story. And moving on, an important story on the economic front. The rupee has weakened to hit an all-time low, trading near 77.4 per dollar. This as foreign funds rush to safety as lockdowns in China, Ukraine war and fear of higher interest rates sent a nervous jolt through markets. Let's look at how it impacts you and the common man. The rupee going up impacts us as essentially when the rupee depreciates, everything we import gets more expensive. So oil import bill goes up, our imports, all of our imports, including edible oils, food, everything goes up. As for $1 worth of products, we have to pay more in terms of rupees. Let's understand how this works with an example. If earlier Brent crude oil stood at $100 per barrel and rupees stood at 75 rupees per dollar, we could import a barrel of crude oil for just 7,500 rupees. But now, when the rupee has weakened to 77 rupees, the same 1 barrel of oil will cost us 7,700 rupees. The difference seems lower, but when it comes to importing millions of barrels, the impact is significant, and hence it could have a cascading impact on inflation. If import of fuel gets expensive, domestic fuel gets expensive, as we've already seen with rising Brent crude prices. Our domestic fuel prices have also been following ever since Russia invaded Ukraine. Now, higher fuel costs also impact the price of essential items, as essentials have to be transported, for which fuel is required. So a rising fuel price translates into higher prices for all essentials. And another important point is that foreign studies and foreign travel also will get expensive, as you will have to pay more in terms of rupee for the same fees, foreign study fees and foreign travel bills. But But there's also an upside, as with a depreciating rupee, Indian exports get more competitive. Indian exporters get more money in terms of rupees for their exports, and Indian exports also become cheaper in the global economy. And moving on, the cyclone Asani that formed over the southeast Bay of Bengal has intensified into a severe cyclonic storm that is likely to bring heavy rain to parts of Andhra Pradesh, Odisha and West Bengal in the coming few days, according to the Met Department. In Bengal, Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee has rescheduled a visit to these districts, the districts that are likely to be impacted. This visit was scheduled to happen this week, but it has been rescheduled. A tweet by the Defence PRO said that Coast Guard aircrafts and ships were being used to broadcast warnings to fishermen and that disaster response teams were on standby. Severe cyclones have been forming in the area for the last 2-3 years. In the month of May, 2 years ago, the super cyclone Amphan hit the area, causing widespread destruction in Bengal and Odisha in the year 2021. The cyclone Yas lashed India and Bangladesh, damaging homes and swamping many coastal towns.
मत्स्यजीवी माने सतर्क रुहंतु मत्स्यजीवी माने सतर्क रुहंतु অতি অবশ্যই বাড়ি ফিরে যান এই নির্দেশ ভারতীয় কোস্ট গার্ডের থেকে জানানো।
And with this, it's time for a short break. More news coming up.
Good evening. It's 8 o'clock. You're watching NDTV for the news that matters, the news you trust. You said in this report that this crisis, like no other, will have a recovery like no other.
This is a crisis, it's a global crisis that's not going to be solved locally.
When we talk of a digital health mission in a country like India, where there are so many different standards of access, how do you actually look at that?
Digital divide does not mean having a device in everybody's hands. So you have to design it for universality, even when you're using a digital backbone.
Priya, for you, when you had stood in the dock, as it were, when you gave your defense, and you said, my only defense is the truth.
Absolutely. And I feel that sexual harassment at the workplace has got the attention it deserves.
NDTV, the news that matters, the news you need, at 8 o'clock.
Only on NDTV 24/7.
Legacy is often seen as a burden of expectations. It comes with its own set of challenges. The challenge to take it forward, challenge to reimagine, challenge to be in the present, and also challenge to think about the future.
What accountability are you talking about?
As long as the core values and principles remain uncompromised. Debates are essential not just for journalism but for humanity. It ignites our mind, opens it up for counter-opinion. To hear all views, opinion of all hues. Which is why the oldest running debate show on Indian news television is not 22 years old, but it is young at 22.
इस इनिशिएटिव को मैं अभिनंदन करता हूं कि सच को सच के रूप में पेश करने का उन्होंने साहस दिखाया।
So let us begin the big fight.
They say the zero is nothing unless it connects the dots and the real story emerges. Unless it captures the truth. They say the camera never lies. Unless it is the essence of India, of diversity and tolerance. Unless it reveals the wealth of nations and silences the barrel of a gun. Unless it reflects the sadness in the eye of the tiger as forests disappear. In fact, the dot is the center of your universe and of ours. The dot is the essence of NDTV, the essence of just one word: trust.
सच दिखाते हैं ताकि दुनिया के बाजार में आजादी सस्ती न बिक जाए। कुर्सी पे बैठने वालों को जमीन की अहमियत याद रहे। सच दिखाते हैं हम ताकि पैसे की चमक से कभी हुनर ना पड़े फीका, खुद गर्जी खोखला ना बना दे सोचने का तरीका। सच दिखाते हैं हम ताकि अच्छे विचार और आदर्श बस किताबी बातें ना रह जाएं।
चुनौतियां काफी ज्यादा हैं, बड़ी चुनौतियां हैं।
एक बेहतर कल चाहते हैं हम, इसलिए सच दिखाते हैं हम। NDTV इंडिया, जुबान पे सच, दिल में इंडिया।
The show where the country speaks its mind.
This is a first step in the direction of giving women at least a fighting chance.
This is all wishful thinking. Today also you see 23% of our girls are married off before 18.
Your mirror to what India thinks.
Everybody had that second thought, how could you be in fashion because you don't look like a person in fashion? And that for me needed to change.
We the people, with me, Sarah Jacob, only on NDTV. If you care about it, we'll talk about it.
Now cryptocurrency ऊपर जाएंगे और नीचे जाएंगे। Bitcoin, blockchain, Dogecoin, हर चीज एक revolutionary solution.
The noisy buzz of cryptocurrency tiring you much? Take an easy sip of coffee and crypto. Your one-stop destination for simplified explainers, industry experts, newsmakers, and Janta's opinions. This is the coffee shot you need to get high on crypto.
Watch CoinSwitch presents Coffee and Crypto every Friday at 6:30 p.m. only on NDTV 24/7.
This is NDTV. No noise, no shouting, news that informs and inspires.
Facts build stories, but opinions shape them, and we are here to bring you both.
A 360-degree look at the day's top stories. We are not afraid to take a stand.
No agendas, no excuses, no whataboutery, and no obfuscation. Cutting through agendas, obfuscation, whataboutery, excuses. Only one show gets to the heart of the matter and tells it like it really is. The biggest newsmakers with no wriggle room, only on No Spin.
Facts build stories, but views shape them. And we are here to bring you both. But in an increasingly polarized world, it is very easy to get swayed in one direction. Breaking the monopoly of narratives, breaking the concept of one-sided arguments, breaking the selective presentation of facts. Because when you hear all views, that's when you get the complete picture. Breaking views.
Welcome back. Activists from a fringe Hindutva outfit were arrested by Ashoknagar police in the wee hours of Monday morning when they had reached a temple in Shantinagar to play Hanuman Chalisa. The organization's chief had given an ultimatum to the government to remove all unauthorized and illegal loudspeakers installed outside the mosques. The call taken by the organization was in reaction to the state government for not following what the UP government, as part of statewide drive, had done by removing nearly 54,000 unauthorized speakers. News now from Tamil Nadu. The Tamil Nadu BJP has a new addition from the ruling DMK. Surya, the son of DMK's veteran Rajya Sabha MP Trichy Siva, has joined the BJP alleging lack of recognition. Surya doesn't hold any official position in the party, but the National Party hopes to use him to expand its footprint in central Tamil Nadu. We have Sam joining us for more on this story. Sam, so what could this mean for the BJP and it expanding its mark in central Tamil Nadu?
Priyanshi, BJP has very negligible presence in Tamil Nadu, and over the last few years it's been trying aggressively to expand its footprint. For the first time, it won 4 MLAs in the last assembly elections, fighting in alliance with the AIADMK. And in the recent urban local body polls, it further expanded its footprint by fighting alone and also winning around 300 seats among the 12,000 plus urban local body seats. So it's slowly trying to incrementally expand its footprint, and in that sense the party hopes, although Surya himself is not a high profile leader in the DMK, not a person who is occupying any kind of position there, they hope that he, being a young leader, he'll be able to bring in that kind of an incremental votes or support in that area, especially in the central Tamil Nadu region where he comes from, in the Trichy city actually. And the DMK says they are not really perturbed. They say Surya has never been an active leader in that sense to miss him, but they hope that he will be coming back to the DMK fold very soon. They point out how a few years ago the DMK MLA Selvam had gone to the BJP, and now recently he has returned back to the parent party, saying that he was not given due recognition in the BJP. So they say the same thing could happen to Surya as well. And the larger picture, of course, is over the last few years the BJP has been trying to bring in many such leaders. We have popular actor Kushbu from the Congress now in the BJP. We have Nainar Nagendran, another former minister from the AIADMK, now in the BJP. With this, it was able to expand its footprint by winning 4 MLAs in the 234 assembly, and it hopes that this kind of an addition would incrementally expand its footprint in region like the central Tamil Nadu area.
Right, so we'll see how that plays out for the BJP. But interesting that the DMK still expects him to come back. Thanks, Sam, for joining us with those details. And with this, it's time for a short break. More news coming up.
Brought to you by
One thing that's clear, our world is changing forever. NDTV, rail news by rail journalists.
Now cryptocurrency ऊपर जाएंगे और नीचे जाएंगे. Bitcoin, blockchain, Dogecoin, हर चीज एक revolutionary solution.
The noisy buzz of cryptocurrency tiring you much? Take an easy sip of coffee and crypto. Your one-stop destination for simplified explainers, industry experts, newsmakers, and Janta's opinions. This is the coffee shot you need to get high on crypto.
Watch CoinSwitch presents Coffee and Crypto every Friday at 6:30 p.m. only on NDTV 24/7.
Good evening. It's 8 o'clock. You're watching NDTV for the news that matters, the news you trust. You said in this report that this crisis, like no other, will have a recovery like no other.
This is a crisis, it's a global crisis that's not going to be solved locally.
When we talk of a digital health mission in a country like India, where there are so many different standards of access, how do you actually look at that?
Digital divide does not mean having a device in everybody's hands. So you have to design it for universality, even when you're using a digital backbone.
Priya, for you, when you had stood in the dock, as it were, when you gave your defense, and you said, my only defense is the truth.
Absolutely. And I feel that sexual harassment at the workplace has got the attention it deserves.
NDTV, the news that matters, the news you need, at 8 o'clock.
only on NDTV 24/7.
Legacy is often seen as a burden of expectations. It comes with its own set of challenges. The challenge to take it forward, challenge to reimagine, challenge to be in the present, and also challenge to think about the future.
What accountability are you talking about?
As long as the core values and principles remain uncompromised. Debates are essential not just for journalism but for humanity. It ignites our mind, opens it up for counter-opinion. To hear all views, opinion of all hues. Which is why the oldest running debate show on Indian news television is not 22 years old, but it is young at 22.
इस इनिशिएटिव को मैं अभिनंदन करता हूं कि सच को सच के रूप में पेश करने का उन्होंने साहस दिखाया.
So let us begin the big fight.
They say the zero is nothing unless it connects the dots and the real story emerges. Unless it captures the truth. They say the camera never lies. Unless it is the essence of India, of diversity and tolerance. Unless it reveals the wealth of nations and silences the barrel of a gun. Unless it reflects the sadness in the eye of the tiger as forests disappear. In fact, the dot is the center of your universe and of ours. The dot is the essence of NDTV, the essence of just one word: trust.
सच दिखाते हैं ताकि दुनिया के बाजार में आजादी सस्ती न बिक जाए. कुर्सी पे बैठने वालों को जमीन की अहमियत याद रहे. सच दिखाते हैं हम ताकि पैसे की चमक से कभी हुनर ना पड़े फीका. खुदगर्जी खोखला न बना दे सोचने का तरीका. सच दिखाते हैं हम ताकि अच्छे विचार और आदर्श बस किताबी बातें ना रह जाएं.
चुनौतियां काफी ज्यादा हैं, बड़ी चुनौतियां हैं.
एक बेहतर कल चाहते हैं हम, इसलिए सच दिखाते हैं हम. NDTV इंडिया, जुबान पे सच, दिल में इंडिया.
The show where the country speaks its mind.
This is a first step in the direction of giving women at least a fighting chance.
This is all wishful thinking. Today also you see 23% of our girls are married off before 18.
Your mirror to what India thinks.
Everybody had that second thought, how could you be in fashion because you don't look like a person in fashion? And that for me needed to change.
We the people, with me, Sarah Jacob, only on NDTV. If you care about it, we'll talk about it.
Now cryptocurrency ऊपर जाएंगे और नीचे जाएंगे. Bitcoin, blockchain, Dogecoin, हर चीज एक revolutionary solution.
The noisy
Hello and welcome. You're watching NDTV, and the big story right now, the anti-encroachment drive that was to take place in Shaheen Bagh today. The bulldozers, however, have turned back. Remember, Shaheen Bagh was the center of the massive anti-CA protests earlier. Now the bulldozers turned back and the anti-encroachment drive was stopped after the intervention of the local MLA, Amanatullah Khan, who claimed that illegal encroachments had already been removed and any more that were identified, that there could be cooperation. At most, we saw one scaffolding that was removed. So Sanket, let's go across to my co-anchor Sanket there, who joins us from Shaheen Bagh. What's the situation there right now? Things have normalized after we saw those, very chaotic scenes of protests and many workers and media all arriving and locals all at the same spot.
Good afternoon and welcome to this special presentation. We are broadcasting live from Shaheen Bagh. Of course, this is a very famous location. 2 years ago, the very same place from where the anti-CAA protests were launched. If Azam is going to show you on the other side of the road, that's the road where the protests were taking place. Now, exactly at the same location, 2 years later, an anti-encroachment drive or a demolition drive was proposed to take place today. The bulldozers, the by now infamous bulldozers had also come here. Locals gathered, politicians gathered, police force gathered, the municipal authorities gathered, the bulldozers had come, and all that they could find in Shaheen Bagh, all that they could find is this scaffolding right here. Come here, let's show you. That is all that these bulldozers found illegal. And then the authorities, the locals over here, the Resident Welfare Association, they said that this has been put up for painting purposes. For instance, how do you expect people to climb up and paint these walls? They're not going to hang in mid-air. This scaffolding was put up for those painters. When these local welfare association leaders intervened, they told the authorities, we don't need no bulldozer to remove this, we'll do it ourselves. And just for the sake of this scaffolding, a massive operation was launched by the authorities, forces deployed, and a full-blown media tamasha. And sadly we report, ourselves included, are right here being a part of the problem and not a part of the solution. But let's show you how things are trying to be normal, and perhaps politically an attempt was being made to not keep this normal. Shops have started reopening. You can see that all those shops behind where you see Flying Machine and Levi's written have all reopened. The road on this side, traffic towards Noida and traffic from Noida has reopened. There is a massive gathering of locals and more than locals, I must say, media personnel. Again, I'm adding a rider, us included, are gathered over here. But the point is, and many of the locals here have pointed this out to us, on a day when the rupee is at its rock bottom lowest against the dollar, when price rise is an issue of raging concern, is the top priority of this nation just this scaffolding? Is that the priority of this country? Scaffolding, which is used to paint the walls, is that the biggest issue of concern? The most pressing issue of urgency for this country? The most important subject that all of us must be talking about, for which the center must deploy resources, for which the municipal authorities must come here in large numbers, for which police deployment should take place, which by the way has now been scaled down, has been reduced. I think this is a question that many locals right here in Shaheen Bagh are asking of themselves and also asking the authorities. Many of them gathered here slowly, as I told you, traffic being normalized, shops also now slowly opening. This matter has reached the courts as well, so it'll be interesting to see what the courts are going to say. But the point is, and that's a concern that was raised by many locals here also, if there was a demolition drive, then should there not be an assessment on whether a demolition drive is needed? For instance, if you come to Shaheen Bagh with all the might at your disposal, only to find that one building which ought to have been painted had put up scaffolding, is that all that these bulldozers wanted to remove? And if this is all that the bulldozer wanted to do, I would say that this is a colossal waste of time as well as wastage of the resources of the taxpayer. That bulldozer does not run for free. It uses diesel bought from the taxpayers' money. I think these are important questions that many in Shaheen Bagh are asking. You can see many locals gathered here. I'm repeating again and again, I sense a great degree of normalcy. As you can see, traffic is freely moving. Traffic on both sides of the road has now been allowed. Free-flowing traffic, so that there is absolutely no obstruction. Sorry. Lots of media also gathered over here, Gargi. In just a short moment, I'm going to try to speak to that local who had walked up to me who just put everything in perspective and trying to locate where he is. But I'm going to come back to you as soon as I've located him, Gargi.
All right, Sanket, and there you can see Sanket now reporting there from Shaheen Bagh, and things have somewhat normalized. Still big crowds, media is still there, including us, of course, as he mentioned. In the other screen, you can see the bulldozers there turning back and leaving the Shaheen Bagh area after no illegal encroachments were removed. The shopkeepers themselves removed the scaffolding, and this was after the intervention of the local AAP MLA Amanatullah Khan, who arrived there, who then spoke to the police, spoke to the MCD, and he said that he himself, with the cooperation of the locals, had been carrying out a anti-encroachment drive himself in the area, and with their cooperation, that a lot of the stalls, etc., had been removed. He says none of those shops are illegal, and they've been there for many years. They're big showrooms, the big brands are there. So he said none of those shops are illegal. He said that even as the mosque in the area is undergoing some sort of renovation work, an illegal toilet that had been built opposite it, that too was raised by him after talking with the mosque management, that too was removed. So he said there's nothing here to remove. He spoke to the police, they agreed with him, and then the bulldozers turned back. He said should they identify any other illegal encroachments, those would be removed. My colleague Saurabh Shukla spoke with him earlier.
यहाँ इंक्रोचमेंट था ही नहीं, एक पेड़ बंधी हुई थी, इसको ये कहने लगे साहब वो बुलडोजर वहां जाकर खड़ा कर दिया। मुझे मालूम था ये खबरें दिखाएंगे कि हमने देखो अतिक्रमण हटा दिया, तो मैंने खुद कहा इसे हटा दो, पेड़ बंधी हुई है सफेदी करने के लिए, इंक्रोचमेंट कहीं नहीं है। ये 13A रोड है जो नोएडा को उत्तर प्रदेश, जो दिल्ली को उत्तर प्रदेश और हरियाणा से जोड़ता है। PWD के विभाग के लोग, हमारा अपना डिपार्टमेंट है, एक भी सीढ़ी, एक भी पेड़ी यहाँ पर नहीं है। जो थी मेरे आह्वान पे मैं शुक्रिया अदा करता हूँ अपने इलाके के लोगों का, तमाम RWA का, तमाम मार्केट एसोसिएशन का, मैंने खुद हटाया। और एक मस्जिद के आगे टेम्परेरी, क्योंकि वहाँ कंस्ट्रक्शन चल रहा था, टेम्परेरी वुजू खाना और उन्होंने टॉयलेट बनाया था अपनी JCB से। मैंने कहा इसे मैं तुड़वाना चाहता हूँ। वहाँ के मदरसे के जो लोग थे, मस्जिद के जो लोग थे, उन्होंने खुद
अमानत अभी यहाँ से बुलडोजर हट गया है, क्या आपकी बात हुई पुलिस आपसे क्या कह रही है?
मैंने पुलिस वालों से यही कहा था आप ही के सामने कि भाई आपके सामने मैंने सब हटा दिया, सब क्लियर करा दिया कि हाँ जी क्लियर करा दिया। फिर क्या है, कहने लगे जी कुछ नहीं है, हम जा रहे हैं। जब यहाँ इंक्रोचमेंट नहीं है, आप किसी का घर तोड़ने आओगे तो मैं तो आऊँगा ना, मेरा रोड है ये PWD का, मेरे विभाग का रोड है, मेरे विभाग के अधिकारी आ जाए, MCD के अधिकारी आ जाए, मेरे साथ पुलिस वाले बैठे, कुछ भी इंक्रोचमेंट अगर गलत होगा तो मैं खुद तोड़वा दूंगा। ये माहौल खराब ना करें।
All right, don't spoil the atmosphere in this area by creating this sort of fear and coming with the bulldozers is what Amanatullah Khan there said. Next, we also spoke to Imran Pratapgarhi. Remember, Congress workers also arrived there and protested, sat on the road and were removed by security forces. And in fact, that's something the BJP is hit out at, saying that the Congress and the Aam Aadmi Party are both protecting those who are indulging in these illegal constructions. But first, let's just listen in to what he said.
यहाँ पर हमारे साथ इमरान प्रतापगढ़ी हैं जो कि कांग्रेस माइनॉरिटी सेल के, ऑल इंडिया कांग्रेस माइनॉरिटी सेल के नेशनल प्रेसिडेंट हैं। उनसे बात करते हैं। इमरान, आप यहाँ पहुँचे हैं, यहाँ पर सिर्फ एक इलीगल स्ट्रक्चर मिला।
वो इलीगल नहीं था, वो इलीगल नहीं था, वो पेंटिंग का काम हो रहा था। और पेंटिंग का काम करने के लिए जाहिर सी बात है बेस तो खड़ा करता है, जो भी रेनोवेशन का काम करवा रहा है। वो बिल्कुल इलीगल नहीं था, सिर्फ उसके सामने फोटो खिंचवा करके MCD चली गई। जो तमाशा करके वो संदेशा देना चाहते थे, मकसद उनका सिर्फ वही था। अतिक्रमण के नाम पे उन्हें कुछ नहीं मिला है।
अच्छा इमरान, ये ठीक वही जगह है जहां हम और आप खड़े हैं, जहां पर शाहीन बाग का वो नागरिकता कानून के खिलाफ आंदोलन हुआ था। सांकेतिक तौर पर यहाँ पर बुलडोजर सिर्फ एक आया और लोगों ने कहा कि हम खुद हटा लेते हैं, यहाँ पर आप बुलडोजर ना चलाइए। लेकिन अब भी इतनी भीड़ भाड़, मीडिया का जमावड़ा हो गया, तो दूरदर्शन भी आ गया।
दरअसल भारतीय जनता पार्टी की सरकारों को अतिक्रमण हटाना उनका मकसद है ही नहीं। उनका मकसद एक संदेशा देना, एक सांप्रदायिक संदेशा देना। अगर अतिक्रमण हटाना मकसद होता तो यहाँ से आगे 60 मीटर पर कचरे का ढेर है, सीमेंटेड पाइपें लगी हैं, जिनकी वजह से सड़कों पे जाम लगता है, अनियंत्रित गाड़ियां खड़ी होती हैं, जाम लगता है। MCD ये काम नहीं करेगी, लेकिन ढिंढोरा पीट के मीडिया समूह लेकर के, फौज लेकर के आएगी और फोटो खिंचवा करके जाएगी। उसका मकसद है एक संदेशा देना, ताकि मुद्दों से ध्यान हटे। उनके टारगेट पे कल भी शाहीन बाग था, कल कोई पंजाबी बाग होगा, परसों कोई रोशन बाग होगा।
आज बड़ी अच्छी चीज देखी हमने, दिल्ली पुलिस की DCP आई, उन्होंने कहा कि आप बुलडोजर मत चलाइए। जब लोग कह रहे हैं कि अपना स्ट्रक्चर हटा लेते तो आप जबरदस्ती क्यों कर रहे हैं? पुलिस ने कहीं ना कहीं आज थोड़ा सा एक अच्छा संदेश दिया है, लोगों को साथ लेकर के, मार्केट एसोसिएशन के साथ लेकर के यहाँ पर थोड़ा कियोस होने से रोक लिया।
जहाँ तक मेरे संज्ञान में है, दिल्ली पुलिस पहले दिन से मना कर रही है कई इन इलाकों में जो आप कार्रवाई करना चाहते हैं आप उन्हें मत करें, क्योंकि लोगों ने अगर थोड़ा बहुत अतिक्रमण कहीं अपना दुकानें कुछ निकाल भी रखी होगी, छप्पर निकाल रखा होगा तो उसको खुद हटा लिया, लेकिन उसके बाद भी बुलडोजर लाया गया अतिक्रमण हटाने के नाम पे। लेकिन ये बुलडोजर आदेश गुप्ता के घर के बाहर नहीं जाता, दिल्ली प्रदेश अध्यक्ष जिन्होंने सच में अतिक्रमण कर रखा है, उसको तोड़िए।
रोहिंग्या बांग्लादेशियों की बात कर रहे हैं, कह रहे हैं कि ऐसे इलाकों में रोहिंग्या बांग्लादेशी रहते हैं, उनके खिलाफ हम लोग ये कार्रवाई कर रहे हैं, वो ये नाम लेते हैं।
मुझे लगता है गृह मंत्रालय के सबसे बड़े जो हमारे मंत्री हैं, यानी कि गृह मंत्री जी, उन्हें इस्तीफा दे देना चाहिए। अगर दिल्ली में गैर कानूनी तौर से कोई विदेशी रह रहा है बिना वीजा के आकर के, और अगर वीजा के आ रहा है, फ्लाइट से आ रहा है, तो जाहिर सी बात है आप बुला रहे हैं, आप वीजा दे रहे हैं, वीजे का पैसा कमा रहे हैं, आप पर्यटन को बढ़ावा दे रहे हैं, और उसके बाद फिर रोहिंग्या और बांग्लादेशी का नाम लेकर के आप टारगेट मुसलमानों को कर रहे हैं। ये बहुत गंदी राजनीति है, भारतीय जनता पार्टी की सरकार को इससे बचना चाहिए।
आखिरी सवाल इमरान, ये बताइए कि अब आप लोग भी यहाँ पर हैं, आपके कांग्रेस के कार्यकर्ता पहले भी आ गए थे, बुलडोजर के सामने लेट गए, उन्होंने बोला बुलडोजर नहीं चलने देंगे। आम आदमी पार्टी अपनी सियासत करती है, इन तमाम सियासतों में एक रिपोर्टर के तौर पर सवाल है, हमने देखा यहाँ तो आज कुछ नहीं हुआ, लेकिन संगम विहार में रेडी पटरी वाले टूट गए, जहांगीरपुरी में अभी आप आए थे, वहाँ भी रेडी पटरी गरीबों का नुकसान हुआ, तो कहीं ना कहीं पिस जाता है वो गरीब तबके का आदमी सियासत में।
नहीं, गरीब पिस जा रहा है और कांग्रेस उसके साथ खड़ी है, तो गलत क्या कर रही है? रेहड़ी पटरी का कानून कौन लाया? अर्बन मिनिस्टर रहते हुए अजय माकन लेकर के आया, जब कांग्रेस की यूपीए 2 की सरकार थी। कांग्रेस ने हमेशा गरीबों को प्रश्रय दिया, लेकिन भारतीय जनता पार्टी क्या करती है? गरीबों से उनका आशियाना छीन लो। एक तरफ मगरूर सियासत के जालिम बुलडोजर हैं, और इधर देखिए गरीबों के सहमे सहमे छप्पर हैं। जालिम को जालिम कहने की जुर्रत कैसे तोड़ोगे? छत तोड़ोगे, लेकिन मेरी हिम्मत कैसे तोड़ोगे? आप गरीब आदमियों की हिम्मत क्यों तोड़ना चाहते हैं? उन्हें रोजगार दीजिए, उन्हें रोजगार दीजिए। आप दावा कर रहे थे कि 2022 में हर व्यक्ति को घर देंगे, यहाँ घर के घर ढाए जा रहे हैं। इस देश में न्यायपालिका का कोई मतलब नहीं है, ताला लगा दीजिए।
सुप्रीम कोर्ट में सुनवाई कर रहा है इस मामले में,
अच्छी बात है। उससे पहले धन्यवाद दिल्ली पुलिस का कि उन्होंने एमसीडी को बैरंग वापस लौटाया, उनका धन्यवाद।
तो इमरान प्रतापगढ़ी अपने चिर परिचित अंदाज में।
All right, so there you heard Congress leader Imran Pratapgarhi hitting out at the BJP and at the MCD, saying they didn't find any illegal construction and all they could find was one scaffolding which was removed. He also hit out at Adesh Gupta, the Delhi BJP chief. Remember, it's his letter to the MCD that is believed to have led to the action in Jahangirpuri after communal riots had taken place there. He hit out at the Congress and the Aam Aadmi Party today in a press conference where he said that they were defending those who are indulging in illegal construction. He also claimed that they were defending illegal Rohingyas and Bangladeshis in Delhi.
ये जो आज एमसीडी वहाँ बुलडोजर पहुँचा है, ये जो नेता वहाँ लेटे हैं, ये जो कांग्रेस और आम आदमी पार्टी के नेता कोई यकायक नहीं पहुँच गया, अचानक नहीं पहुँच गए। ये वही पुनरावृत्ति दोहरा रहे हैं जो इन्होंने मनीष सिसोदिया ने कहा कि बांग्लादेशी रोहिंग्याओं को आप संरक्षण दो, इसीलिए वहाँ लेटने का काम कर रहे हैं। मैं आज इस आपके माध्यम से उनको कहना चाहता हूँ, चिंता मत करिए। जो लोग अतिक्रमण को बचाने के लिए, जो बांग्लादेशी रोहिंग्याओं के अतिक्रमण को बचाने के लिए, आतंक फैलाने वाले लोगों का अतिक्रमण बचाने के लिए जो बुलडोजर के सामने लेटे हैं, जनता भी उनको लेटाने वाली है।
All right, we'll slip into a short break now and return with more. Stay with us.
Brought to you.
This is NDTV. No noise, no shouting, news that informs and inspires.
Facts build stories, but opinions shape them. And we are here to bring you both.
A 360-degree look at the day's top stories. We are not afraid to take a stand.
No agendas, no excuses, no whataboutery, and no obfuscation. Cutting through agendas, obfuscation, whataboutery, excuses. Only one show gets to the heart of the matter and tells it like it really is. The biggest newsmakers with no wriggle room, only on No Spin.
Facts build stories, but views shape them. And we are here to bring you both. But in an increasingly polarized world, it is very easy to get swayed in one direction. Breaking the monopoly of narratives, breaking the concept of one-sided arguments, breaking the selective presentation of facts. Because when you hear all views, that's when you get the complete picture. Breaking views. Get the complete picture.
One thing that's clear, our world is changing forever.
NDTV, real news by real journalists.
Now cryptocurrency ऊपर जाएंगे और नीचे जाएंगे. Bitcoin, blockchain, Dogecoin, हर चीज एक revolutionary solution.
The noisy buzz of cryptocurrency tiring you much? Take an easy sip of coffee and crypto. Your one-stop destination for simplified explainers, industry experts, newsmakers, and Janta's opinions. This is the coffee shot you need to get high on crypto.
Watch CoinSwitch presents Coffee and Crypto every Friday at 6:30 p.m. only on NDTV 24/7.
Good evening. It's 8 o'clock. You're watching NDTV for the news that matters, the news you trust. You said in this report that this crisis, like no other, will have a recovery like no other.
This is a crisis, it's a global crisis that's not going to be solved locally.
When we talk of a digital health mission in a country like India, where there are so many different standards of access, how do you actually look at that?
Digital divide does not mean having a device in everybody's hands. So you have to design it for universality, even when you're using a digital backbone.
Priya, for you, when you had stood in the dock, as it were, when you gave your defense, and you said, my only defense is the truth.
Absolutely. And I feel that sexual harassment at the workplace has got the attention it deserves.
NDTV, the news that matters, the news you need, at 8 o'clock.
Only on NDTV 24/7.
Legacy is often seen as a burden of expectations. It comes with its own set of challenges. The challenge to take it forward, challenge to reimagine, challenge to be in the present, and also challenge to think about the future.
What accountability are you talking about?
As long as the core values and principles remain uncompromised. Debates are essential not just for journalism but for humanity. It ignites our mind, opens it up for counter opinion. To hear all views, opinion of all hues. Which is why the oldest running debate show on Indian news television is not 22 years old, but it is young at 22.
इस इनिशिएटिव को मैं अभिनंदन करता हूं कि सच को सच के रूप में पेश.
Welcome back. Let's get you the latest now from Shaheen Bagh, where this morning bulldozers arrived for the anti-encroachment drive. Remember, the Delhi MCD, South Delhi MCD, has been carrying out this anti-encroachment drive in 10 localities, and Shaheen Bagh was on the list. They had wanted to carry this out on Friday. However, the police could not give them adequate security then. But today, they arrived there with the bulldozers, with police presence, with the media as well. So it was quite chaotic for a few hours, as we saw a lot of the locals out there, the media was there, the police was out there in large numbers, and the bulldozers, of course, that have become a symbol of this action against various, which we've seen across the country in various states, bulldozers being used in particular localities, and even becoming an election symbol in a sense. During the UP elections, in many of Yogi Adityanath's rallies, we saw bulldozers being brought there. But however, what happened here was that the MCD surveyed the area, and it seems all they could find was one scaffolding outside of a shop, and that was brought down by the shopkeepers themselves. because just to understand, this is a very broad road here. It's a road between Delhi to Noida, and if you see where the market is, there are these big shops. They're all big showrooms and big brands over there, and finally, this scaffolding that you see on your screens, this was brought down by the shopkeepers themselves because the bulldozers starting heading towards that. So the local MLA Amanatullah Khan also arrived here, and he spoke to the police, he spoke to the MCD, and he said he said he's already carried out a drive to remove any sort of illegal encroachments like carts or any sort of stalls that were put up, but he says nothing else is an illegal encroachment here, and the bulldozers then turned back. NDTV's Sanket is there in Shaheen Bagh, and he spoke to a couple of the locals to understand the situation there and what exactly happened this morning when MCD bulldozers had to return from Shaheen Bagh.
So I have with me some locals. आपका शुभ नाम?
अलीम।
आप यहीं रहते हैं? जी। ये बुलडोजर आया और उसको बस ये बल्लियाँ दिखी यहाँ पर जो गैर कानूनी थी।
जी, बल्लियाँ क्या आप अपना मकान में भी सफ़ेदी कराएंगे या बोर्ड लगाएंगे तो बगैर बल्ली के थोड़ी आप हवा में थोड़ी उड़ेंगे। हाँ। हवा में उड़ के तो हो नहीं सकता जब तक बल्ली बांस वगैरह या राड वगैरह कुछ नहीं लगेगा, तो आप उसमें मरम्मत उसकी करा नहीं सकते या बोर्ड लगा नहीं सकते, बस ये है। और अगर कहीं बुलडोजर अगर चल भी रहा है तो इतनी मीडिया वाले वहाँ थोड़ी जाते हैं। ये शाहीन बाग को इशू बना के ये दिखाया जा रहा है कि शाहीन बाग में मतलब जो है बुलडोजर चलाया जा रहा है, इस तरीके की बात है। तो मेरा कहने मतलब अगर अवैध है तो हर जगह भी चलाओ आप, और चलना चाहिए, लेकिन कोई अवैध नहीं है। बुलडोजर 3 घंटा खड़े खड़े यहाँ से चला भी गया।
तो शाहीन बाग में बुलडोजर को ये वो बिल्डिंग थी ना जिसमें बल्लियाँ लगी हुई थी?
जी जी जी।
हाँ, तो ये क्या इन्होंने क्या बोला कि ये क्यों लगाए? पुताई कर रहे थे?
ये पुताई नहीं कर रहे थे, बोर्ड की मरम्मत करा दे। अगर इसके अंदर अगर शोरूम वगैरह है तो अपना लाइट वगैरह उसमें प्रचार करने के लिए कुछ ना कुछ तो बोर्ड पे लगाए जाते हैं, बस वही काम चल रहा था और कोई बात नहीं। उसमें काम थोड़ी है, अपने घर की मरम्मत सफेदी भी कराएंगे तो कोई बात।
बुलडोजर को और क्या मिला यहाँ पर?
बुलडोजर कुछ नहीं मिला, पब्लिक मिली, मीडिया मिली, पुलिस मिली, बुलडोजर गया घर अपने।
पब्लिक मिली, मीडिया मिली
और पुलिस वाले मिले और गए अपने घर। और डीआरपी
और क्या मिला? आइए आइए आइए।
डीआरपी नहीं मिली,
अच्छा
कुछ नहीं मिला। पब्लिक ये सब जान रही है। रोटी का मुद्दा है, कोई उठाने वाले आवाज़ है नहीं। पेट में आग लगी, आपके घर 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 रुपया हर माह का खर्चा बढ़ चुका है। आप आवाज़ उठाएंगे तो जेल में डाल दिए जाएंगे, हम आवाज़ उठाएंगे जेल में डाल दिए जाएंगे। मीडिया वालों को लंगा करके उसमें जेल में लंगा किया जाएगा। और जो ऊंचे पोस्ट पे जो मीडिया पैसा गवर्नमेंट की तरफ से खाने वाली या कुछ भी है तो उसकी बाबा है, उसके आवाज़ उठाने वाला कोई भी नहीं है। कोई कुछ आप फालतू बोल दे तो आप गुनहगार हैं।
आपका शुभ नाम?
मेरा नाम बदरुद्दीन है, मैं MIM से यहाँ पे विधानसभा अध्यक्ष हूँ। देखिए ये जो हटाने आए थे इंक्रोचमेंट, एक सिर्फ और सिर्फ बुलडोज़र पॉलिटिक्स का सिंबलिज्म करने आए थे। बुलडोज़र आता है, मेन रोड पे खड़ा रहता है, भीड़ आती है, सैकड़ों मीडिया चैनल है, एक बाढ़ को बता रहे हैं कि इलीगल स्ट्रक्चर है। इस बाढ़ इलीगल स्ट्रक्चर स्ट्रक्चर फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल, उस पर हंगामा काटा उन्होंने। इन्होंने कहा कि जी हमारी बाढ़ है, हमने बोर्ड लगाने के लिए लगाया था, खुद हटा लूँगा, खुद हटा लिया और बुलडोज़र चला गया। तो कहीं ना कहीं ये मीडिया विजुअल थ्रू आउट इंडिया भेजने के लिए बीजेपी जो कम्युनल पॉलिटिक्स कर रही है कि जब शाहीन बाग जो मुस्लिम डोमिनेंट एरिया है वहाँ पे हम लेके गए बुलडोज़र और वहाँ पे इनको टाइट कर दिया। जो व्हाट्सएप यूनिवर्सिटी के थ्रू उन्होंने एक साइकी, पब्लिक साइकी क्रिएट की है और जो नैरेटिव सेट किया उसमें यह है कि जी मुसलमानों को अगर हम टाइट रखेंगे तो हमारी पॉलिटिक्स टाइट रहेगी। वही करने आए थे। ये कोई इंक्रोचमेंट नहीं हटाने वाले, कुछ भी नहीं करेंगे, सिर्फ और सिर्फ मीडिया में फ़ोटो भेजने के लिए एक मीडिया मैसेजिंग है और मैं यही करने आया तो कुछ नहीं किया। आप अगर यहाँ स्टार्टिंग से रहे होंगे, इन्होंने कुछ किया ही नहीं है। सिर्फ पैरामिलिट्री फोर्स खड़ी हुई, पुलिस खड़ी, उसको धूप में परेशान कर दिया, जनता को परेशान कर दिया और आके उन्होंने कहा जी हम बाढ़ हटा रहे हैं। उनसे पूछे, कोई इंजीनियर से पूछे MCD के कि क्या ये बाढ़ जो है स्ट्रक्चर है और क्या ये इलीगल स्ट्रक्चर है? भाई अगर आपको हटाना है तो आप जो इलीगल स्ट्रक्चर होंगे बहुत सारे उनको नोटिस दीजिए, वहाँ पे जाइए, आप लीगली तौर पे हटाइए, फिर वहाँ कोई अपोज करता है तो बताइए। हम लोग खुद ही बहुत सारे इंक्रोचमेंट से परेशान हैं। तो मेरा कहना ये है,
ये राड वगैरह पब्लिक ने अपने हाथ से हटाया, कोई बुलडोजर नहीं हटाया। ये राड वगैरह जितना सब अपने हाथ से हटा के अंदर रख रही है, आपके सामने भी है। अगर किसी ने बुलडोजर चलाया है या कुछ भी है तो इतनी मीडिया सुबह से लगी है, कुछ भी दिखा दे। ये मीडिया में दिखाने के लिए, शाहीन बाग इशू बनाने के लिए ये ऐसा बनाया गया।
सिंबोलिज्म है और कुछ और कोई। शाहीन बाग को बदनाम करने के लिए
हाँ, जो है नाम वाला वही बदनाम है।
ये पिछले 8 दिन से जो ये माहौल क्रिएट किया जा रहा था कि ओखला शाहीन बाग में इंक्रोचमेंट है, वो तोड़ा जाएगा, वो हटाया जाएगा। यहाँ पे मुझे आप वहाँ से लेके और जहाँ शोरूम है एक दिखा दिए कि कहीं पे उन्होंने बिल्डोज़र टच भी किया हो, सिर्फ और सिर्फ माहौल ख़राब करने के लिए। अंजना ओम कश्यप जहांगीरपुरी में जाके उस बिल्डोज़र पर चढ़ जाती, सिर्फ मुसलमानों के लिए, सिर्फ माहौल ख़राब करना। जो हमारे छोटे बच्चे हैं उनके दिमागों में सिर्फ हिंदू मुस्लिम भरना और देश को माहौल, देश का जो नौजवान है उसको भ्रमित करने का काम है इन लोगों का, और ये वही में कामयाब भी हो रहे हैं। और जो आजकल आप देख रहे हैं वीडियो मुसलसल के वहाँ पे उसको मार लिया, कहीं से मार लिया, ऐसा कुछ नहीं है। हर जगह पे 100 में एक आध आदमी ख़राब होता है। ऐसा नहीं है कि हमारे देश का माहौल ख़राब है। देश का माहौल ख़राब नहीं है, देश का माहौल ख़राब करने की पूरी कोशिश की जा रही है। हमारे जो छोटे बच्चे हैं उनके दिमागों में हिंदू मुस्लिम की बातें डाली जा रही हैं, जो पिछले 15 सालों से डाली जा रही हैं, और इसका नतीजा आने वाले 15 साल में दिखेगा क्या हो रहा। बहुत ज़्यादा माहौल ख़राब करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं। और हमारा जो देश का गंगा जमनी तहजीब थी, जो हमारे पहले थे, पहले भी तो हम लोग सब साथ मिल के ही रहते थे। अब और हम कब अलग हैं, मगर अब जो है इसको छोटी छोटी चीज़ों को ये क्रिमिनलाइज करके दिखाते हैं, हिंदू मुस्लिम करके दिखाते हैं।
जैसे कि आपने सुना यहाँ पर स्थानीय लोगों का, और मैं आज़म से कहूँगा कि वो आगे आएँ, स्थानीय लोगों का ये बताना है कि ले दे के अतिक्रमण हटाने के नाम पर ये यहाँ पर ये बल्लियाँ लगी हुई थी, और बल्लियाँ इसलिए लगी थी ताकि कुछ रंगाई पुताई हो जाए, सफाई हो जाए, सफ़ेदी हो जाए, पोस्टर बैनर लग जाए। और इससे पहले कि बुलडोज़र इसको उतारता, यहाँ पर स्थानीय लोगों ने बोला कि आप ये कष्ट क्यों उठा रहे हैं, ये जहमत मत उठाइए, हम ही कर देते हैं। ये सारी स्कैफोल्डिंग उतर गई, सारी बल्लियाँ उतर के अब अंदर जा रही। लेकिन जो बड़ा सवाल है वो यही है कि क्या इस देश का सारा पैसा, सारा समय इन बल्लियों को दिखाने में जाएगा? क्या ये बल्लियाँ इस देश की सबसे बड़ी दिक्कत है? शाहीन बाग की ये बल्ली इस देश की सबसे बड़ी मुसीबत हो गई। इतनी बड़ी मुसीबत है तो लीजिए साहब हटा लिया लोगों ने। बिल्कुल बिल्कुल। कैमरामैन आजम के साथ संकेत उपाध्याय, NDTV।
All right, so let's move away now from news of Shaheen Bagh, where the bulldozers have turned back and only one scaffolding was brought down. Let's focus now on the cyclone Asani that has formed over the southeast Bay of Bengal. It intensified into a severe cyclonic storm this morning, and it's likely to bring heavy rain to parts of Andhra, Odisha, West Bengal. In fact, it's already brought rain to Kolkata. The West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee had to reschedule a visit to districts due to the cyclone, and a lot of the warnings were given out, and fishermen were told not to head out into the waters. But the cyclone is expected not to make landfall. Its path is actually going to skirt along the coastline, and it's not expected to make landfall, but it is going to bring a lot of rain. NDTV's Alok sent us this report from Kolkata.
The skies are overcast in Kolkata and in many parts of West Bengal as we count down to the cyclone Ashani that is expected to bring heavy rains and strong winds in the next 24 to 48 hours in West Bengal, Odisha and Andhra Pradesh. In my backdrop is the famous Havra Bridge in West Bengal's capital Kolkata, which of course connects this city to the Havra town, which is on the other side. Activity at the moment is normal because it has been raining in Kolkata since today morning. But then, the city is used to rain because it's the eastern part of the country. However, at the same time, people are worried about this impending cyclone and the fact that, it is expected to bring these rains and winds at the end of the day. One good thing appears to be that the Met Department is saying that it won't be as strong as Amphan was in 2020 and Yas was in 2021. Amphan in particular brought about a lot of destruction. But this time around, we may manage to escape with just heavy rains and strong winds. And of course, in the coastal areas, you have warnings being given out to fishermen not to venture out into the sea starting tomorrow till the 12th, and also tourism activities in the coastal areas will remain suspended. The Chief Minister was planning to go on a district tour. She has cancelled or advanced that. She's moved that ahead in the sense that she's going to go next week. So the authorities on watch, on alert, but at the moment things carrying on normally, so to say. But like I said, one hopes that this is how it will be through the week. With camera person GD Shankar, this is Alok Pandey, NDTV.
And there was a rainfall in Kolkata that even led to some amount of waterlogging in some parts. In fact, Alok sent us this report.
It's rained heavily in Kolkata for the last 2 or 3 hours. But of course, the worry amongst everyone's mind is the impending cyclone Asani and the kind of trouble or the kind of impact that it may or may not have in Kolkata and adjoining areas. So this is a street that's become waterlogged after about 2 to 3 hours of rain. There are similar such areas across West Bengal's capital where there is an accumulation of water because of what has happened, and because we are looking at a cyclone that's coming in. Of course, the Met Department is saying that it may be a little less intense this time around. I have a few people, you can see a few people here kind of making their way in this inundation. कहाँ जा रहे हैं भैया, कहाँ जा रहे हैं? भवानीपुर ऑफिस जा रहे हैं ऐसे बारिश में।
हाँ,
आसानी को लेके कोई चिंता है साइक्लोन को लेके आपका मन में?
हाँ, तो प्रॉब्लम हो जाएगा ना, तो गाँव में का साइड में बहुत खेती नष्ट हो जाएगा।
आपका बाड़ी कहाँ में? कलकत्ता में रहते हैं, बाहर से हैं?
बाहर से, मतलब कलकत्ता में रहते हैं, गांव बाहर है, दीघा का साइड में।
तो अपना माँ बाबा से बात हुआ आप लोगों का आसानी को लेके? कुछ वो लोग बोला?
तो दीघा से ही आया हूँ।
अच्छा, दीघा से आए, वहाँ थोड़ी बहुत चिंता है लोगों के?
हाँ, लोगों को तो चिंता है। हाँ हाँ, हवा होगा तो गांव का तो छोटा मोटा जो घर है वो तो टूट जाएगा।
So there you have it, these people telling us that they are a little worried about what effects the cyclone will bring, but at the moment you can see, like I said, all of these people making their way in this rain and in this waterlogging and carrying on with the usual activity, because I think, like we've said, the important thing to watch out for is whether the cyclone creates any kind of major effect or whether we'll manage to escape with just a bit of heavy rain and heavy winds, which may be par for the course for people who live in a place like Kolkata, because the city is anyway used to heavy rains in that sense. With camera person GD Shankar, this is Alok Pandey, NDTV.
All right, moving on to other news. And the Supreme Court has 2 new judges today, with the Chief Justice of India, N.V. Ramana, administering the oath of office to Chief Justice of Guwahati High Court, Justice Sudhanshu Dhulia, and Gujarat High Court, Justice Jamshed B. Pardiwala. Justice Pardiwala will be in line to become the Chief Justice of India in May 2028 for a span of over 2 years. And with the appointment of these 2 judges, the top court has regained its full strength of 34 judges. News now from Karnataka. An activist from a fringe group, a fringe Hindutva outfit, were arrested by the Ashok Nagar police in Bengaluru in the early hours when they had reached a temple to play the Hanuman Chalisa. The organization's chief had given an ultimatum to the government to remove all unauthorized and illegal loudspeakers installed outside mosques. The call taken by the organization was in reaction to the state government for not following what the UP government has done as part of a statewide drive and removing nearly 54,000 unauthorized loudspeakers. So in many areas this morning, police action in one area in which the activists were held, but in other areas, temples, some temples did play out Hanuman Chalisa in the morning. Earlier we spoke to Shrija for more details.
Well, as planned by Sri Ram Sene, we understand several of the activists especially tried entering the temples across various locations in Karnataka. Now, this includes the capital city, Bengaluru as well, and several, at least about 2 to 3 temples is what we had witnessed. And as far as the other districts are concerned, including Mysuru district, Gadag district, Hubli, and as well as Chikmagalur district. Now, these are some of the districts where we understand the activists of the hardline Hindutva group, Sri Ram Sene activists, they had entered the temples and they started playing devotional songs and also, Hanuman Chalisa as well. But at some locations, we understand several of the police officers were also stationed. They were deployed right outside the temples to ensure that they stopped these Sri Ram Sene activists, and they were taken into preventive custody. Now, this is what really ensued in the morning. But right after that, there's not really been in terms of the government speaking, what is the action that they are going to initiate against the chief who had called for this particular decision, which is Pramod Mutalik. But as far as the government is concerned, we also understand Home Minister Araganyanendra, he has issued a statement saying that the government will ensure they will adopt strict measures to follow the court's order in terms of the loudspeakers. But however, has also said that strict action will be initiated against those who are taking a law into their own hands. Now, this is something the government has said. But as far as Pramod Mutalik is also concerned, just this morning, this is after playing devotional songs in Hanuman Chalisa. This is at a temple in Mysuru district of Karnataka. He went on to warn the state government and also various Muslim organizations that if they don't, fall in line or follow the orders of the court in terms of the decibel levels of the call for prayers. He also went on to state that Sri Ram Sene will take the law into their own hands.
They say the zero is nothing unless it connects the dots and the real story emerges. Unless it captures the truth. They say the camera never lies. Unless it is the essence of India, of diversity and tolerance. Unless it reveals the wealth of nations and silences the barrel of a gun. Unless it reflects the sadness in the eye of the tiger as forests disappear. In fact, the dot is the center of your universe and of ours. The dot is the essence of NDTV, the essence of just one word: trust.
सच दिखाते हैं ताकि दुनिया के बाजार में आजादी सस्ती न बिक जाए। कुर्सी पे बैठने वालों को जमीन की अहमियत याद रहे। सच दिखाते हैं हम ताकि पैसे की चमक से कभी हुनर ना पड़े फीका। खुदगर्जी खोखला न बना दे सोचने का तरीका। सच दिखाते हैं हम ताकि अच्छे विचार और आदर्श बस किताबी बातें ना रह जाएं।
चुनौतियां काफी ज्यादा हैं, बड़ी चुनौतियां हैं।
एक बेहतर कल चाहते हैं हम, इसलिए सच दिखाते हैं हम। एनडीटीवी इंडिया, जुबान पे सच, दिल में इंडिया।
The show where the country speaks its mind.
This is a first step in the direction of giving women at least a fighting chance.
This is all wishful thinking. Today also you see 23% of our girls are married off before 18.
Your mirror to what India thinks.
Everybody had that second thought, how could you be in fashion because you don't look like a person in fashion? And that for me needed to change.
We the people, with me, Sarah Jacob, only on NDTV. If you care about it, we'll talk about it.
Now cryptocurrency ऊपर जाएंगे और नीचे जाएंगे। Bitcoin, blockchain, Dogecoin, हर चीज एक revolutionary solution.
The noisy buzz of cryptocurrency tiring you much? Take an easy sip of coffee and crypto. Your one-stop destination for simplified explainers, industry experts, newsmakers, and Janta's opinions. This is the coffee shot you need to get high on crypto.
Watch CoinSwitch presents Coffee and Crypto every Friday at 6:30 p.m. only on NDTV 24/7.
This is NDTV. No noise, no shouting, news that informs and inspires.
Facts build stories, but opinions shape them, and we are here to bring you both.
A 360-degree look at the day's top stories. We are not afraid to take a stand.
No agendas, no excuses, no whataboutery, and no obfuscation. Cutting through agendas, obfuscation, whataboutery, excuses. Only one show gets to the heart of the matter and tells it like it really is. The biggest newsmakers with no wriggle room, only on No Spin.
Welcome back. Now, as the war in Ukraine has entered its 75th day, today Russia celebrated its annual Victory Day. This is an annual parade that they have that marks the Russian defeat of Nazi Germany in World War II. But it took a special significance coming as it did in the midst of this war. Now, Vladimir Putin addressed the crowds and he spoke. He said that Russian troops are defending the motherland. He said the invasion of Ukraine, what he called a special military operation, was necessary and had been provoked by the West. But he did not go on to make any kind of major announcement related to the war, including a full-scale mobilization.
Fellow citizens of Russia, veterans, comrade soldiers, sailors, naval officers, army officers, corporals, members of the officer corps. I would like to congratulate you on this, the day where we remember the great victory, the moment when the country defended itself against an existential threat. That innate patriotism, that resistance spirit that was in the fighters in Kiev, Minsk, Stalingrad, Moscow, Kursk, Sevastopol and Kharkov. Even today, you are fighting for our citizens, for our people in the Donbass region to defend Russia. On the 9th of May 1945, on that historic date, our people triumphed together. This was a perfect achievement on the front lines and behind. This day of victory is important to everyone in Russia. There is not a single family in Russia that was spared by the war. The Regiment of Immortals today honors our ancestors.
All right, so the world heaving a sigh of relief that no major announcements made by President Putin there on Victory Day. But let's get you the latest from Ukraine. And civilians evacuated from Mariupol steel mill last week finally reached Zaporizhia. 10 buses slowly pulled into the city under darkness, carrying 174 evacuees from Mariupol. Of the last 51 civilians who were evacuated from the besieged Azovstal steel plant, just over 30 made it out of the Russian-held territories. And a man and a woman were detained by Russian forces. The woman, who was held on suspicion of being a military medic, had been traveling with her 4-year-old daughter, who was allowed to board the bus. At least 4 people were killed, 8 were injured in the Donetsk region after attacks launched by Russian forces. They were killed in different areas. Scores of Ukrainians were feared dead Sunday after a Russian bomb flattened the school in the Luhansk region, where about 90 people were taking shelter in the basement. Emergency crews found 2 bodies and rescued 30 people at the school in the village after Saturday's bombing. Ukrainian President Zelensky addressed the G7 on Sunday, calling for sustained support in the face of the Russian invasion and beyond. Sitting alongside Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, who was in Kyiv on a surprise visit, Zelensky said Ukraine would require $5 to $7 billion monthly support as the war continues, and some $600 billion in reconstruction once it ends.
Поки війна триває, ми потребуємо щомісячної підтримки на рівні від 5 до 7 мільярдів доларів. Коли війна завершиться, потрібно буде відновлювати зруйноване Росією на більше ніж 600 мільярдів доларів США. Це дуже багато для нашої держави. Це неможливо для України, але посильно для вас. І це не просто витрати для вас. Фінансова допомога Україні, допомога з післявоєнною відбудовою – це недопущення значно більших втрат вільного світу у майбутньому. Росія хоче піти далі в Європу, і всі потенційні агресори світу, які також хочуть зруйнувати життя сусідів, дивляться саме зараз, чи вдасться Росії та чи зможуть вони повторити.
All right, and some breaking news now coming in. The Supreme Court has refused to intervene in the Shaheen Bagh demolition case, and they've said go to the High Court to the petitioner. Remember today, bulldozers arrived at Shaheen Bagh to carry out the anti-encroachment drive that is being conducted by the South Delhi MCD. However, those bulldozers then turned back after the matter was sorted with the local MLA claiming that there were no illegal encroachments in Shaheen Bagh. At the same time, the matter was taken up by the Supreme Court. Let's go across to Sukirti for the very latest. Sukirti, give us the details about the petitioner and the plea regarding the Shaheen Bagh demolition. Supreme Court saying go to the High Court.
Well, yes, the main petitioner in this case was the CPM, which had approached the Supreme Court saying that these demolitions, the way they are taking place, they are illegal. There is no due process of law being followed. However, the Supreme Court in very strong terms expressed objection to the fact that a political party was approaching the Supreme Court in this case and had not even bothered to go to the Delhi High Court before. The court said that had you approached the High Court there and they would have refused to hear you, maybe then you would have come to us. But directly coming to the Supreme Court in this manner, Justice Ellen Rao said, what is this? Is a political party going to come to the Supreme Court and tell us what to do? We are not going to intervene in such matters at the behest of political parties. Had it been an aggrieved party, had it been a victim of the demolition, then maybe we would have heard the case. Another co-petitioner, which is a hawkers union, also tried to plead to the Supreme Court, but the court said that hawkers are not structures that are being demolished. It is only when structured demolition is taking place in an illegal manner or if the notice has not been issued beforehand, then we would have intervened because something similar had happened in Jahangirpuri. But Jahangirpuri cannot become a precedent for every person in the country to approach the Supreme Court and then say that even though my establishment was illegal, it has been demolished and now I want justice from the Supreme Court. So the Supreme Court, in very strong terms, objecting to the fact that the political party is the one that came to the top court seeking relief in this matter. And the court has then asked the party to withdraw the plea, which the CPM has done. It also tried to seek a stay on the demolitions in the way they are being carried out. The court has refused to grant any such stay to the CPM. However, it did point out to the SDMC that if any structures are being demolished, you should do it according to law and you should issue a notice, to which Solicitor General Tushar Mehta, who is representing the SDMC, he said that we are not demolishing any structures. These are just routine encroachments for which, as per law, we do not need to issue any notices in the first place. Raji.
All right, Sukirti, thanks so much for joining us there with the latest. So regarding Shaheen Bagh, approached by the CPM, the Supreme Court says you can't come for every, sort of this action, anti-encroachment action being taken by the MCD and ask the petitioner to go now to the High Court. All right, now in other news, and a special report 1 year after COVID waves exposed devastation in our hospitals, our morgues and crematoriums, and visuals were embossed on our newspapers, flashed across TV screens. But what of the unseen devastation and sorrow, the thousands of homes that lost family members, earning members to the virus, and how are they surviving 1 year on as the rest of India has returned to normalcy? They've been forgotten, reduced to mere statistics, some even running pillar to post for that promised COVID relief. Take a look.
वो दिन सोच लेते हैं ना तो एकदम ये होता है कि
All support system gone. Tears don't stop.
बहुत तकलीफ से गुजरी हूँ मैं और नहीं बोल पा रही हूँ.
The ration box is empty. The child is malnourished and keeps crying in pain. COVID took away every support of 33-year-old Afsana of Mumbai. Settled in Dharavi, her male family members sold clothes and fruits. Afsana lost her husband 7 years ago due to a blood disease. Afsana's two brothers-in-law and father-in-law were the only support. The two brothers-in-law died in the first wave of the pandemic Then the second wave took away her father-in-law as well, her last support. Afsana had lost her mother during her childhood and the father lost the battle of life due to lack of oxygen in the COVID second wave.
जिस टाइम हम लोग क्वारंटाइन में थे मेरे को लगता था मैं अपने बच्चों को भी खो दूंगी, इतनी ज़्यादा उसको तकलीफ थी। डॉक्टर ने बोल दिया था इसको भी निमोनिया हो गया, इसको भी डर है कहीं कोविड न हो गया हो। बहुत डर था ये वाले को। फिर अल्लाह का शुक्र है, लेकिन बहुत हम लोग वहाँ पे बैठ के पढ़ाई करे, बहुत करते थे। रिपोर्ट नेगेटिव आई सब। फिर हम लोग घर आए, आने के बाद फिर पापा का हाल हो गया और टूटते ही चले गए हम लोग। रोज़मर्रा की ज़िंदगी भी जैसे गुजर रही है, कुछ हेल्प चाहिए मुझे, कुछ भी नहीं हो रहा है। गवर्नमेंट भी सब लिख के करते हैं, हाँ करेंगे करेंगे करके कुछ नहीं होता है, कुछ नहीं करते हैं। फिर ऐसे आए, ये दौर से गए। फिर उसके बाद 11 दिन के बाद दूसरे जेठ भी डेथ कर गए, उनको भी कोरोना हो गया। फिर 1 महीने के बाद, कुछ दिन के बाद मेरे फैमिली से ही रिलेटिव वो भी चले गए। फिर 9 महीने के बाद मेरे ससुर जो हमको, हमारे 2 बच्चे छोटे उनको देखते थे, मेरे हस्बैंड के गुजरने के बाद वो भी चले गए। एक महीने के बाद मेरे पापा भी गुजर गए, वो गांव में गुजरे, उनकी भी डेथ हो गई। ऐसे ऐसे हालात से गुजरे। अब मैं कैसे बच्चे को पालती हूँ और करती हूँ बस।
Now Afsana and her 2 children are dependent on help from relatives and neighbors. 8th pass Afsana earns a few hundred rupees a month through sewing and some household work. She can't afford to send her children, 13 and 7 years old, when even paying house rent is difficult. Some good souls like Dr. Akhtar Sheikh lend a helping hand to the family. But it is not enough.
लेने वाले बहुत लोग आते हैं, मगर जो ज़रूरतमंद होता है उस तक चीज़ें पहुंचती नहीं है। और यही लॉकडाउन में भी हुआ है, बहुत लोगों तक नहीं पहुंची। हम लोगों ने ज़बरदस्ती छीन के झपड़ के लाके इनको दिया है ताकि इनका घर चल सके, इनके बच्चों के पेट में अन्न जा सके, खाना जा सके। बच्चे थोड़ा सा, मतलब आप देख सकते हैं ये बच्चे कितने कमज़ोर हैं। अगर ये बच्चों को अच्छे से खाना मिलता है या वो अच्छे खुश होते हैं तो शायद और तंदुरुस्त होते हैं। मैं इसी एक ही बात कहूँगा कि BMC जो है इनको एज ए डिपेंडेंट कंसिडर करे और इनके पास जो भी अमाउंट होता है इनके अकाउंट में जो है जमा करवाए ताकि इनकी थोड़ी सी मदद हो सके। मैं जानता हूँ 50,000 रुपीज़ कोई बहुत बड़ी अमाउंट नहीं है, ना ही उससे उनकी ज़िंदगी चल सकती है, मगर क्या है थोड़ा सा ये स्टेबल हो जाएंगे, थोड़ा सा ये अपने ज़रूरतों को जो है पूरा कर सकेंगे या अपने कुछ चीज़ों को स्टेबल कर सकेंगे।
Afsana, who lives in this 14 by 10 feet room, has also appealed to BMC for relief amount of 50,000. She is waiting for approval. With Pooja Bharadwaj in Mumbai, Osama Shah for NDTV.
Facts build stories, but views shape them. And we are here to bring you both. But in an increasingly polarized world, it is very easy to get swayed in one direction. Breaking the monopoly of narratives, breaking the concept of one-sided arguments, breaking the selective presentation of facts. Because when you hear all views, that's when you get the complete picture. Breaking views. Get the complete picture.
One thing that's clear, our world is changing forever.
NDTV, real news by real journalists.
Now cryptocurrency ऊपर जाएंगे और नीचे जाएंगे। Bitcoin, blockchain, Dogecoin, हर चीज एक revolutionary solution.
The noisy buzz of cryptocurrency tiring you much? Take an easy sip of coffee and crypto. Your one-stop destination for simplified explainers, industry experts, newsmakers, and Janta's opinions. This is the coffee shot you need to get high on crypto.
Watch CoinSwitch presents Coffee and Crypto every Friday at 6:30 p.m. only on NDTV 24/7.
Good evening. It's 8 o'clock. You're watching NDTV for the news that matters, the news you trust. You said in this report that this crisis, like no other, will have a recovery like no other.
This is a crisis, it's a global crisis that's not going to be solved locally.
When we talk of a digital health mission in a country like India, where there are so many different standards of access, how do you actually look at that?
Digital divide does not mean having a device in everybody's hands. So you have to design it for universality, even when you're using a digital backbone.
Priya, for you, when you had stood in the dock, as it were, when you gave your defense, and you said, my only defense is the truth.
Absolutely. And I feel that sexual harassment at the workplace has got the attention it deserves.
NDTV, the news that matters, the news you need, at 8 o'clock.
Only on NDTV 24/7.
Legacy is often seen as a burden of expectations. It comes with its own set of challenges. The challenge to take it forward, challenge to reimagine, challenge to be in the present, and also challenge to think about the future.
What accountability are you talking about?
As long as the core values and principles remain uncompromised. Debates are essential not just for journalism but for humanity. It ignites our mind, opens it up for counter opinion. To hear all views, opinion of all hues. Which is why the oldest running debate show on Indian news television is not 22 years old, but it is young at 22.
इस इनिशिएटिव को मैं अभिनंदन करता हूं कि सच को सच के रूप में पेश करने का उन्होंने साहस दिखाया.
So let us begin the big fight.
They say the zero is nothing unless it connects the dots and the real story emerges. Unless it captures the truth. They say the camera never lies. Unless it is the essence of India, of diversity and tolerance. Unless it reveals the wealth of nations and silences the barrel of a gun. Unless it reflects the sadness in the eye of the tiger as forests disappear. In fact, the dot is the center of your universe and of ours. The dot is the essence of NDTV, the essence of just one word: trust.
सच दिखाते हैं ताकि दुनिया के बाजार में आजादी सस्ती न बिक जाए. कुर्सी पे बैठने वालों को जमीन की अहमियत याद रहे. सच दिखाते हैं हम ताकि पैसे की चमक से कभी हुनर ना पड़े फीका. खुदगर्जी खोखला न बना दे सोचने का तरीका. सच दिखाते हैं हम ताकि अच्छे विचार और आदर्श बस किताबी बातें ना रह जाएं.
चुनौतियां काफी ज्यादा हैं, बड़ी चुनौतियां हैं.
एक बेहतर कल चाहते हैं हम, इसलिए सच दिखाते हैं हम. NDTV इंडिया, जुबान पे सच, दिल में इंडिया.
The show where the country speaks its mind.
This is a first step in the direction of giving women at least a fighting chance.
This is all wishful thinking. Today also you see 23% of our girls are married off before 18.
Your mirror to what India thinks.
Everybody had that second thought, how could you be in fashion because you don't look like a person in fashion? And that for me needed to change.
We the people, with me, Sarah Jacob, only on NDTV. If you care about it, we'll talk about it.
Now cryptocurrency ऊपर जाएंगे और नीचे जाएंगे. Bitcoin, blockchain, Dogecoin, हर चीज एक revolutionary solution.
The noisy buzz of cryptocurrency tiring you much? Take an easy sip of coffee and crypto. Your one-stop destination for simplified explainers.
Welcome back. Let's get you the latest on the Rana couple. That's independent MP Navneet Rana and her husband MLA Ravi Rana, who have arrived in Delhi. This as the state government is planning to move the court to cancel their bail for violations of the bail conditions. The Maharashtra government has petitioned the court to cancel the bail granted to MP Navneet Rana and her husband MLA Ravi Rana. A special public prosecutor, Advocate Pradeep Gharat, had told NDTV. He said that the couple's statements that were made to the media amount to a clear contempt of court as they are in breach of their bail conditions, and he said he would be submitting a petition for cancellation of bail in the Sessions Court today. The court, while granting bail to the Rana couple, had put the condition they would not speak to the media regarding the case. They have, however, arrived in Delhi, and as you can see, they are speaking to the media. They're going to meet with Home Ministry officials and talk about the treatment that they faced when they were under arrest.
समाल और अधिकारों के लिए लड़ाई लड़ने का घर मेरा दिल्ली है, जहाँ पर पार्लियामेंट जिसे कहते हैं। तो मुझे लगता है महाराष्ट्र में जो भी दुर्घटना हमारे साथ हुई, दुर्व्यवहार हमारे साथ हुआ, एज ए मेंबर ऑफ पार्लियामेंट और एज ए एमएलए हमारे साथ जो भी हुआ, उसके अगेंस्ट में जो मैंने मुंबई कार्रवाई करने के लिए दी है, उस पर कुछ कार्रवाई नहीं हुई। तो आज मैं दिल्ली में उसी के अगेंस्ट में आई हूँ। तो मुझे लगता है कि मैं सभी जितने भी बड़े लीडर्स और जो रिप्रेजेंट करते हैं, जो वुमेन्स को रिस्पेक्ट करते हैं सेंटर के द्वारा, उनके पास आके उनको मिलके मेरी पीड़ा मेरे साथ में जो हुआ उनको बताऊंगी। मुझे लगता है कि जो भी कोर्ट ने आदेश मुझे दिए थे, जो मेरे बेल एप्लीकेशन ऑर्डर में थी कि पर्टिकुलर ये सब्जेक्ट पे मैं बात नहीं करूंगी, पर एज ए लोक प्रतिनिधि, लोकतंत्र में संविधान ने मुझे जो अधिकार दिया है, वो पर्टिकुलर सब्जेक्ट को छोड़कर मैं बाकी सब्जेक्ट पे बात कर सकती हूँ। मैंने उस सब्जेक्ट को हाथ ना लगाते हुए जो मेरे साथ लॉकअप में हुआ, जिस तरीके से दुर्व्यवहार हुआ, जिस तरीके से जेल में मेरे साथ अत्याचार हुआ, मेरे हेल्थ इशू डॉक्टर लिख के देने के बाद भी मुझे जेल से चेकअप के लिए नहीं लेके जाया गया, इस विषय को लेकर बात करना ये अधिकार मुझे संविधान ने दिया है। पर कोर्ट के आदेश का पालन मैंने कल भी किया, आज भी करती हूँ और आगे भी करूंगी, उसमें कोई भी डाउट नहीं। आज मैंने ओम बिरला जी का टाइम लिया है और 5:30 बजे मैं ओम बिरला जी को मिलने वाली हूँ। एज ए लोकसभा मेंबर मेरे चेयरपर्सन को मिलके मेरी जो पीड़ा, मेरे साथ जो दुर्व्यवहार या महाराष्ट्र में उद्धव ठाकरे जी के द्वारा मेरे ऊपर अत्याचार किए गए हैं, वो एज ए चेयरपर्सन उन्हें बताने का काम मेरा कर्तव्य बनता है और उनको आके वो बताऊंगी। और ये भी एक है कि सीपी जो अमरावती महाराष्ट्र के हैं, मुंबई के जो सीपी हैं, कमिश्नर ऑफ पुलिस संजय पांडे जी, उनको एक चीज बताना चाहूंगी, जो वो गुलामी उद्धव ठाकरे जी की कर रहे हैं और उनके प्रेशर में और उनके बोलने के अनुसार वो हर किसी पे कार्रवाई कर रहे हैं, किसी को जेल भेज रहे हैं, किसी पे नॉन बेलेबल ऑफेंस दाखिल कर रहे हैं। वो 1 महीने के बाद रिटायर्ड होने वाले हैं, तो इसका मतलब ये नहीं कि उनके पाप धुल जाएंगे, उसके बाद भी उनके पाप बाहर निकलेंगे। आपको जो लालच उद्धव ठाकरे जी ने दी है कि आपको राज्यसभा मेंबर देंगे या आपको कोई एमएलसी देंगे, ये सब चीजें बाजू में रखकर मुझे लगता है उसके बाद भी आपको उत्तर देना पड़ेगा। और जब जिसने मेरे ऊपर और विधायक रवि जी के ऊपर जिन्होंने गलत तरीके से ऑफेंस दाखिल किया है, जब तक मुझे सब एक जनता से पूछना है, आप सब यहाँ पर हैं, आप सबको पूछना चाहूंगी मेरी गलती क्या थी, मैंने गलती क्या की?
बेल की शर्तों का आपने उल्लंघन किया क्योंकि शो कॉज नोटिस है। आप
मैंने कोई भी उल्लंघन, कोर्ट के आदेशों का भंग नहीं किया, मैंने उस पर्टिकुलर विषय को हाथ नहीं लगाया। मैंने जो बोला, जो मेरे साथ पीड़ा हुई, मेरे हेल्थ इशू को लेकर मुझे जिस तरीके से पीड़ा दी गई, लॉकअप से लेकर जेल तक, उसे बोलने का अधिकार मुझे संविधान ने दिया और उसका मैंने अधिकार बचाया। 100% मैं सभी का समय लेऊंगी और लेकर वहां तक जाऊंगी। दादा, मी अमित शहाजींना जे महिलांना रिस्पेक्ट करतात, देशाचे गृहमंत्री आहे ओम बिर्ला साहेब आणि मोठे अजून जे लीडर आहे ज्यांच्या हात पूर्ण राईट्स आहे, जे महिलांना रिस्पेक्ट करतात, तिथपर्यंत मी त्यांच्या दार ठोकण्यासाठी जाणार आणि त्यांना मी न्याय मांगण्याची पूर्ण गुहार लावणार। मुझे लगता है पीएम साहब को भी, हमारे मुख्यमंत्री जैसे वो फ्री नहीं है पीएम साहब। हमारे मुख्यमंत्री दो साल कार्यालय नहीं जाते मुख्यमंत्री के। पीएम साहब तो हर मिनट का हर मिनट ये देश के लिए देते हैं, तो हम भी देश के मिनट में 1 मिनट जरूर मांगूंगी पीएम साहब से कि हमारी पीड़ा उन्होंने समझनी चाहिए, सुननी चाहिए। और मुझे ये जरूर विश्वास है कि अभी तक उन्होंने इस चीज की पूरी जानकारी ली होगी, पूरी माहिती, इन्फॉर्मेशन उन तक पहुंची है। पर मुझे ये जरूर पता है कि पीएम साहब का 1-1 मिनट बहुत महत्व रखता है ये देश के लिए, और वो देश के लिए 1-1 मिनट के लिए काम करते हैं। उद्धव ठाकरे जी के जैसा 2 साल ऑफिस में नहीं जाते। 100% पुलिस, जो दिल्ली पुलिस है, जो मेरे घर के पार्लियामेंट के एरिया में जो पुलिस स्टेशन आता है, वहाँ जाके जो खुलेआम मुझे गुंडे जैसी एक राज्यसभा मेंबर ने धमकी दी, 20 फुट नीचे गाड़ कर, और आपकी पूरी सामग्री क्रियाक्रम की हमने ऑलरेडी मशान में पहुंचा दी है। इस तरीका का भाषा जो जिसने किया है संजय राउत, जिनको हमारे महाराष्ट्र में पोपट बुलाते हैं, ऐसे पोपट के अगेंस्ट में मैं एफआईआर करने के लिए पुलिस स्टेशन जाऊंगी और मैं खुद जाकर एफआईआर दूंगी। मुझे लगता है कि कोर्ट ने जो आदेश दिए, मैं उसके अगेंस्ट भी जाऊंगी। मैं तो मेरी पूरी जनता को ये पूछ रही हूँ, एक भारतीय नागरिक होने के कारण और एक महिला होने के नाते मैं ये पूछना चाहूंगी, मैंने ऐसा कौन सा गुनाह किया जो मेरे ऊपर देशद्रोह लगा आज? मुझे ये सभी को पूछना है कि देशद्रोह किस बात का? अगर मेरी हेल्थ खराब है, मेरी हेल्थ इशू है, तो उस पे मैं बोलूंगी कि मेरी हेल्थ इशू है, डॉक्टर ने लिख के दिया मुझे कि आप जाइए हॉस्पिटल चेकअप कराइए, मुझे भेजा नहीं गया। और मुझे देशद्रोह के अंदर जिंदगी भर जिस ईमानदारी से मैंने काम किया, आज मेरे ऊपर देशद्रोह दाखिल होता है। तो महाराष्ट्र में कोई भी ऐसा व्यक्ति है न्याय के लिए नहीं लड़ेगा, न्याय के लिए बाहर नहीं आएगा।
क्या कहना चाहती है उद्धव ठाकरे के लिए? आज आप दिल्ली में मौजूद हैं, यहाँ से आप क्या कहना चाहती हैं?
मैं एक बात जरूर कहना चाहूंगी, ये जो उद्धव ठाकरे जी हैं, इन्होंने ज्ञान की बातें और सिद्धांत की बातें बिल्कुल नहीं करनी चाहिए। जो किसी और के भरोसे चुन के आए, मोदी जी के पैर छूकर आशीर्वाद लेकर 14 और 19 विधानसभा और लोकसभा जो अपने पार्टी के लोगों को चुन के लाए हैं, मोदी जी के भरोसे, उद्धव ठाकरे जी के भरोसे चुन के नहीं आए। खून का पसीना करना पड़ता है जब लोग लोकसभा और विधानसभा चुन के आते हैं। बैक स्टैंपिंग की है तो ये उद्धव ठाकरे जी ने की है। और भगवान के नाम लेने में अगर कोई मुझे जेल में डाल जाता है तो आखिरी सांस तक मैं भगवान का नाम लेना छोड़ूंगी नहीं। भगवान का नाम स्मरण करती थी, करूंगी और आगे भी करती रहूंगी। कोई नहीं रोक सकता। 100% मैं संजय राउत जी जो पोपट हैं उद्धव ठाकरे जी के, उसके अगेंस्ट में एफआईआर करूंगी। मुंबई में सभी डिपार्टमेंट के लोग अंडर प्रेशर काम कर रहे हैं, पर केंद्र की एजेंसी पे भी गुहार लगाऊंगी कि उनके खिलाफ कार्रवाई करे और इंक्वायरी करे। मुझे लगता है जिन्होंने प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस में सीधा तौर से मुझे आह्वान दिया, मुझे धमकी दी, उनके विरोध में मैं और शिवसेना ने हमारे घर पे हल्ला किया और हमारे अमरावती के घर पे हल्ला किया, मुंबई के घर पे हल्ला किया। गुंडेशाही तो उन्होंने की, हम तो घर से बाहर भी नहीं निकले, तो भी हम देशद्रोह। जो गुंडे हमें मारने आए उन पे कोई कार्रवाई नहीं। जो खुलेआम प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस में मुझे बोलते हैं 20 फुट नीचे गाड़ देंगे, महिला को नीचे गाड़ देंगे। मैं तो आ गई हूँ दिल्ली, मैं तो मुंबई भी थी, गाड़ के तो देखते। हमारी देश की जनता सोई नहीं है, देश की जनता जागी। धन्यवाद।
All right, Saurabh Gupta now joins us on the phone line for more. And Saurabh, there we heard Navneet Rana talking about why she's come to Delhi. She says she's a member of parliament. She's also going to meet several officials to recount her mistreatment when she was arrested. She also claims that she hasn't violated any of her bail conditions because she hasn't spoken on that matter. And she's been speaking, however, on other subjects. But we do know that in Maharashtra, that the police is now moving to have her bail cancelled.
So, yes, for Navneet Rana and MLA Ravi Rana, her husband, it makes sense to be in the news politically, and that's something that they're planning to do. They plan to keep this going because, like we've been reporting, it is election season in Maharashtra, and the Shiv Sena says that they, which is, of course, Navneet Rana and her husband, or even MNS Chief Raj Thackeray, are being used as proxies by the BJP. That's what the Shiv Sena has to say. And for Navneet Rana, who spent some time in jail, obviously this is something that she sees as a political opportunity, which is why you will hear her make the statements, kind of statements that she made. For example, even a short while ago, which we heard on television. Now, the very strict conditions that were set by the court in the bail order was not to speak to the media on this case. And on that count, of course, there are differences of opinion whether she's speaking on the case or whether she's speaking on something else. Now, the public prosecutor in court very clearly felt that she was speaking on the case, violating the bail conditions and indulging in contempt of court, which is why they moved that application on behalf of the Mumbai police, and the court has issued a notice to her. Her lawyers are obviously going to argue that she's going to be making statements. She's a politician. She can, of course, carry on with her political statements if they're not related to the case. But in the end, what we see is, of course, an ugly war in which Navneet Rana and her MLA Ravi Rana, started it off by, saying that they would turn up at the Chief Minister's residence and almost, enticing Shiv Sena workers to try and stop them if they could, which the state government argued was actually a ploy to create disturbance and ensure that, they could use that as an excuse. Now, this is, of course, something that was argued in court. And as of now, what we know is that the court has issued them an order, but they are in Delhi already. She says she's an MP. She wants to meet central leaders, which is well within her constitutional right. But at the end of the day, what the Bombay High Court actually said was very important, that public representatives have a more important duty and they have to be very careful of what they say. And that's something that stands for Navneet Rana, even though she argues that she's not speaking really on the case, that she is not supposed to, according to her bail conditions.
All right, Saurav, thanks so much for joining us with those details. So Navneet Rana now and her husband now in Delhi. Now let's move on to the other big story we're tracking today, and the anti-encroachment drive in Shaheen Bagh, where the bulldozers actually turned back after an intervention by the local MLA there, and all they found was one scaffolding that they removed. Now this matter also came up in the Supreme Court today, but the Supreme Court today declined to entertain petitions against the Municipal Corporation's anti-encroachment drive in Shaheen Bagh, asking the CPM and other petitioners to move the Delhi High Court in the matter. Let's go across to Sukirti now for more. And Sukirti, while this drive was taken out in Shaheen Bagh today, and it seemed that what the Supreme Court would say would be very, very important. But now that the drive seems to have been called off for the moment in Shaheen Bagh, but even so, what happened in the Supreme Court? The Supreme Court asking the petitioners to go now to the High Court.
Well, yes, the Supreme Court had a very strong objection to the fact that it was the CPIM that approached the top court for relief in this matter. It rapped the CPIM saying that a political party cannot approach the Supreme Court in this manner without even bothering to go to the High Court first. This Supreme Court cannot be used as a platform in this manner. We cannot keep entertaining cases like this, because if we do that, then everybody in the country will think that they have a license to first create illegal structures and then approach the Supreme Court against that demolition, despite the illegal nature of their establishment. The court then asked the CPIM it should withdraw its plea, otherwise it is going to dismiss it. And they should approach the High Court. The CPIM also requested the Supreme Court for imposing a stay on these demolitions, but that request was also refused by the Supreme Court, which said that we will not be doing this at the behest of a political party. Had an aggrieved person come to us, then we would have intervened in the matter. In Jahangirpuri case, that had happened, and that is why we intervened. But just because a political party is coming to us, we are not going to entertain this issue.
All right, Sukirti, thanks so much for joining us with those details. So as we said, the anti-encroachment drive in Shaheen Bagh was called off today. Remember, Shaheen Bagh came to the limelight as it was the center of the massive protests against the contentious citizenship law. That drive today was halted. The bulldozers returned after the local MLA, Aam Aadmi Party's Amanatullah Khan, had intervened and claimed that all illegal encroachments had already been removed. However, later the BJP hit out at Congress and AAP workers who had blocked the bulldozers, and the BJP said that he accused them of encouraging Rohingyas and Bangladeshis in Delhi.
यहाँ इंक्रोचमेंट था ही नहीं। एक पेड़ बंधी हुई थी, इसको ये कहने लगे साहब वो बुलडोजर वहां जाकर खड़ा कर दिया। मुझे मालूम था ये खबरें दिखाएंगे कि हमने देखो अतिक्रमण हटा दिया, तो मैंने खुद कहा इसे हटा दो। पेड़ बंधी हुई है सफेदी करने के लिए, इंक्रोचमेंट कहीं नहीं है। ये 13A रोड है जो नोएडा को उत्तर प्रदेश, जो दिल्ली को उत्तर प्रदेश और हरियाणा से जोड़ता है। पीडब्ल्यूडी के विभाग के लोग, हमारा अपना डिपार्टमेंट है, एक भी सीढ़ी, एक भी पेड़ी यहाँ पर नहीं है जो थी। मेरे आह्वान पे मैं शुक्रिया अदा करता हूँ अपने इलाके के लोगों का, तमाम RWA का, तमाम मार्केट एसोसिएशन का, मैंने खुद हटाया। और एक मस्जिद के आगे टेम्परेरी, क्योंकि वहाँ कंस्ट्रक्शन चल रहा था, टेम्परेरी वुजू खाना और उन्होंने टॉयलेट बनाया था अपनी JCB से। मैंने कहा इसे मैं तुड़वाना चाहता हूँ। वहाँ के मदरसे के जो लोग थे, मस्जिद के जो लोग थे, उन्होंने खुद कर।
अमानत अभी यहाँ से बुलडोजर हट गया है, क्या आपकी बात हुई पुलिस आपसे क्या कह रही है?
मैंने पुलिस वालों से यही कहा था आप ही के सामने कि भाई आपके सामने मैंने सब हटा दिया, सब क्लियर करा दिया कि हाँ जी क्लियर करा दिया। फिर क्या है, कहने लगे जी कुछ नहीं है, हम जा रहे हैं। जब यहाँ इंक्रोचमेंट नहीं है, आप किसी का घर तोड़ने आओगे तो मैं तो आऊँगा ना, मेरा रोड है ये PWD का, मेरे विभाग का रोड है, मेरे विभाग के अधिकारी आ जाए, MCD के अधिकारी आ जाए, मेरे साथ पुलिस वाले बैठे, कुछ भी इंक्रोचमेंट अगर गलत होगा तो मैं खुद तोड़वा दूंगा। ये माहौल खराब ना करें।
And with that, time for us to slip into a short break. More news on the other side. Stay with us.